This is the world's cheapest sports car, and I'm the idiot who just bought it.
Sports cars are typically a luxury out of reach for many, but when I found this one listed at just $500, I couldn't resist. Of course, a $500 car comes with its share of challenges. This one is missing numerous body panels, having sat unfinished in a garage for 6 years after an attempted paint job. Despite its rough appearance though, there's still hope it might be mechanically sound beneath the surface. My plan? Transform this budget roadster into the greatest sports car the world has ever seen. Something capable of beating Ferraris, Lamborghinis, and Porsches on track. Now you might be wondering, why would I even try fixing something like this, and set such a crazy goal for it? These days, every car YouTuber is trying to outdo themselves, buying crazier and crazier cars. And even I fell into this trap, making the largest purchase of my life when I bought a crashed BMW M5, which I'm still working on fixing. This model of constantly outdoing yourself is expensive and unsustainable. And I want to show that cheap cars can be just as exciting and can get more clicks than expensive supercars. And the first step of completing this goal is seeing if we just burnt $500 or if we got the greatest deal ever. And in order to know for sure, we need to confirm that 1, the engine runs, 2, the car isn't falling apart due to rust, and 3, it can actually drive around. So let's get into it. Now before we check if the motor on this car even works, I'm sure a lot of you have many questions. First off, what is it? This, I wouldn't blame you if you didn't know what it was because it's missing many body panels, but it is a 1990 Mazda Miata, which is one of the first years they made this car, and it's one of the most popular sports cars of all time. They've literally made over 1 million of them. They have a tiny little engine up front, 4-cylinder, a manual transmission, and rear-wheel drive. This is the perfect sports car. Well, maybe not this one.
It has the pop-up headlights, all the good stuff that you want in a Miata.
And a lot of stuff that you're missing to make it a Miata. For example, this one is missing many of its body panels. But it doesn't just stop there. It has a, this isn't attached to anything, and that is a theme that seems to be going on with a lot of stuff. This, just in there, I'll leave that there, maybe that's important. Continuing our tour, there's no door, so it's the lightweight version.
There's no paint anywhere.
Yeah, there's no paint.
A major feature of this car.
There's no paint absolutely anywhere. On the other side, as you can see on the inside, there is no door panel. It's just the inside of the door. But what's absolutely hilarious is this car has no body panels yet. It somehow has 4 cup holders. Oh my gosh. That's the most cup holders I've ever seen in a Miata before. Usually they have 0. So somebody was they were really thirsty, I guess, while they were drinking this thing.
That's crazy. Whoever owned this before us took the paint off and then left it, but they took the paint off with like a wire brush, which I'm no body man, but I know that's not how you're supposed to remove paint. And we've got a lot of little rust spots because it's been exposed metal for many years, and I'm sure all the people that know how to paint cars are cringing right now because it looks horrible, and you're not wrong. So hopefully we can get that sorted out. Now we really do not know if this thing is gonna run, so we can't call it a sports car quite yet, but if it turns on and we can take a look at it and everything seems all right, it might have been the best deal on a car of all time. And if it doesn't work, then we're screwed. So, yeah.
We've bought abandoned cars before. We bought an abandoned Aston Martin that had been left in a New York City body shop for 15 years.
More on that car soon, by the way, so stay tuned.
Yeah, we're not done with that, but you should check that out if you haven't seen it. And something that people commented about was before we started the car, we didn't check the oil level. Now, when a car sits for a long time, you don't always know the state of the oil, and usually it's degraded over that.
You also don't know if it has any.
Yeah,
especially in a car like this that's prone to leakage. You can see there's definitely been some fluids around these parts, but
yeah,
usually they don't leak on top of the engine, you know.
I'm hoping they're old fluids.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna check, because if there's no oil in this car, we definitely don't want to start the motor. There's oil on the end of that, but let me.
Oh, but that didn't even look that bad.
Let me get a clean oil dip. This is a nice dipstick.
This is a nice dipstick. Oh yeah, nice work, man.
Let's check. I think that's within. Oh, that's within. That looks nice, actually. I mean, I can't speak to the quality of the oil that's in there. We have no idea if it's degraded or not. It probably has, but it looks like with the amount of oil we have in there, we can at least try starting it. We won't drive it or rev it up or anything. We've literally rolled it in here off the trailer. We bought it, and we don't know anything about it because we're stupid.
I am stupid.
But where's the fun in knowing everything, man?
First, let's see if the electronics even turn on.
No.
Yeah, we have something.
Wait, oh my god, wow. Every time you hit that button, so the headlights, oh! We got one.
Oh, yes. Oh, wait. Grab that piece of plastic.
Oh my god, they're winking. Oh my god. Yeah! Let's go! That's sick. Look at it, man. This thing is adorable. You'll be nice again soon, my friend.
It doesn't feel like it has a lot of juice.
There's no way it fires up. It can't even, yeah. There's no way.
You hear that?
The starter motor's like, eh.
All right, well.
Should we go buy a new battery?
Yeah, check this out.
Does the horn work? Aww.
All right, I say we go get a new battery.
Yeah.
We chuck the new battery in, and then we cross our fingers and hope that the engine just magically starts and runs fine. Will that happen? For the price we paid? Unlikely.
Maybe while we're at AutoZone, we get some new oil and do an oil change.
We'll try to start it. If it starts, we'll then very quickly turn it off so we don't break anything. And then we'll put new fluids in it.
All right, let's go do that.
Okay. Thankfully, there's a parts store just around the corner. So we grabbed a new battery, oil, and a filter, and now we can get this thing running. We gotta take this old, tiny battery out. This has gotta be the smallest little battery I've ever seen. There's also many things here. Like a bag of these center caps, I wanna say, Mazda center caps. We also have a bag of
Gizmos and trinkets.
We'll have a lot of trinkets ready to go.
Some whatchamacallits.
Yeah, show that here. Try to make some room. What the?
Oh my god, those are pretty rusty.
Oh,
I hope underneath it doesn't look
those
like
are
that.
the things.
What are you doing?
I don't know.
Just move the old battery.
One thing at a time.
There's something up with this guy.
Oh gosh.
I'm telling you, man, there's something's wrong with Jackson these days. Look at that.
Come on.
Push it on from the top, man. It's not gonna hurt you.
I'm scared, man. There we go. Man. Come on, get in the battery tray. I guess I'll do this first. Oh, that sounded promising.
Sounded like electricity is inside of this battery.
That's a good sign, right? There we go. The new battery, by the way, costs half the price of the car. So we've already blown the budget. Well, we're gonna be spending a lot more than the car is worth. Many times more than the car is worth if it runs. So I guess without further ado.
Oh man, should we open the garage door? No.
No, it's fine.
You're not optimistic. All right, lights are on.
Okay.
Headlights?
The new battery. Oh my god, the new battery is zippy.
That's a good sign. That means we were definitely dropping charge.
All right, give her a little crank, brother. What the? That's shocking.
Dude!
What? It's dog. That thing fired up like it was running 5 minutes ago. No shot. No shot. Give it a little rev, man.
We won't drive it or rev it up or anything.
Oh, it's kind of loud. Dude, it's running like a brand new car. What the heck? Okay, so we got a good deal.
Dude, I'm shocked.
No shot. All right, see if it moves. See if it moves. See if it moves.
We won't drive it or rev it up or anything.
See if it moves.
Alright, clutch test.
Oh my god. Stop, you're gonna run over the fender. Dude. You're good. Now, I'm more of a pessimist than Jackson. That's always been a fact. It literally runs like a brand new car. That's crazy.
Ready?
Right back up.
I hate to say it. Well, I actually don't hate to say it, but well, I hate to say it. This might be the most reliable car we have.
Well, yeah, the Raptor's broken. The 911's on its way out. The M5 is an M5. So it's, well, the engine's there, and we're getting a new one of those.
The Porsche just needs an engine rebuild, by the way, and we will rebuild it. It's just getting a little old. It's got a lot of miles on it. Don't worry about it.
This thing works great, though.
This thing.
What a shock. How is this $500 car better than our $25,000 Aston Martin we bought? How is that possible?
This might be my...
How is
I
that
love
possible?
this car.
I think so too, man.
Now it's officially the cheapest sports car of all time, running and driving. Does it look good? Not at all.
Well, do the brakes work? We don't know that.
Well, they worked going a mile an hour.
Yeah.
So I'm optimistic. I'm gonna let this vent out for a second. Let's get it ready to go on the lift, and then we need to test the next most important thing, which is seeing if there's any rust underneath the car, because that could also kill the project. I've only taken a peek. We've never had it up on a lift.
Hopefully it goes up on the lift.
That just crashing down. Let's find out. Thankfully, it seems like it's at least rigid enough to go up on the lift. However, it's not looking as good underneath as I thought it would.
She's a crusty girl, my friend. She's a bit of a crusty girl.
Hold on, maybe not. Maybe not where it matters.
Well, there's some crust down here, man.
There is some crust. Is this afterward?
Holy crap. Look at these bushings. Oh my god.
I've never seen a bushing so...
It's just flaking off into pieces.
See that one?
Yeah, that's terrible.
The suspension is shockingly okay. It's salty for sure.
Ugh.
That's road salt. Look at this.
Oh my god, yeah, dude. All the bushings.
The hub. We might need to replace
the subframe.
But in terms of the body of the car, where it actually counts, this is all surface. That's fine. That's not that bad. I can't poke a hole through it.
That's Jackson's test of if it's good, is if there's not a hole.
That's fair. To the frames of the car, these are usually on Miatas, by the way, quite dented and dinged.
Those aren't actually bad.
And they're not, I think this has been undercoated. At some point.
I don't know, but yeah, those aren't actually that bad.
Is that a Band-Aid on it?
It got a little boo-boo, man.
Oh man, poor guy.
It's either been undercoated or someone painted over all the rust. Which is definitely an option.
Look at this transmission there.
Where is it? Oh, what the? Dude, that's a brand new transmission.
I think that transmission's new.
That's not the stock transmission. We'll score.
No, it's not dirty at all.
Score, dude. Brand new transmission. Let's go.
Hold on.
How's the clutch though? Can you see?
Let's see.
Holy crap, bro. This transmission is literally
brand new.
That's worth more than we paid for the car.
I think you're right.
That's crazy.
So if you look at the body of the car, like over here, there is, sure, a little bit of surface rust, but that's nothing to worry about.
Nothing a little dry splash or something won't fix. Really, the biggest issue is all of the suspension components, which are...
They're toast.
Yeah.
I mean, look, this is definitely still structurally strong.
It's savable, but I think, to be honest, with the price of parts on this car, I think we might even want to do whole new subframes based on how this all looks. I know it's kind of a bummer, but
this is also an aftermarket exhaust from here back.
from the it gets bigger.
It gets
and
wider.
The way they made it bigger was just globbing some weld in there. That's shocking.
But in terms of modification, I actually think that's the only thing that's not stock.
Yeah.
Which is shock for a Miata. Shocking. We're gonna see what lurks underneath us. This is the hold it with your head move. You see that?
Oh,
so when
nice.
you think it's gonna fall, you hold it with your head.
That's a good move.
And then you just...
And they say we don't know what we're doing.
And then worry free.
Let go. Walk away. Ah.
Yeah,
Hold it with your sway bar method.
Well, now it looks great. Except we had oil in it. Let me bring the light.
Holy crap. Well, the belt's pretty tight. That's good. It's kind of wet down here, but not honestly not as oily as I was expecting.
Well, to me, it looks fantastic.
I wouldn't go that far, oh, ew, dude, that's
I
gross.
opted in on my tetanus shot.
I'm not. No, I'm kidding. I am.
It's gonna need some new things.
What's crazy though is how bad all the suspension components, like, I mean, even that heat shield there is like falling apart.
It's rotted, yeah, but everything
But
else
the
is
body
fine.
isn't that bad.
It's like someone took all the bad stuff and just threw it on a great car. But that makes our job easier because what I'm thinking is in a really normal case scenario, what you'd have to do is you'd have to go in here and try to get all these horribly rusted things out. But I think what we do is we pull the whole entire subframe
Just
out.
those zippy guys right up there.
And then if we pull the whole subframe out, we can get a new subframe, which will cost about the same as the car.
More probably.
More probably. And then we can get brand new parts. And this will be the mintiest little machine you ever done see. Now, what you may see is all these rusted parts, but what I see and what Will sees is opportunity. And I think, in my brain that only works at about half capacity, that we can make this faster than a Ferrari, a Lamborghini, and a Porsche.
Yeah, really old ones probably.
I think we can beat some new ones.
Okay, well, that's
my goal here. And
gonna be expensive. Because this thing's bad.
we've done some important tests. The car starts, the car moves, so the clutch works, and we've looked for rust, which there is some of, but we'll figure out how to fix that. There's not too much though. And now we need to check something that's arguably most important, and that's the health of the oil in this car. We really need to get the old oil out because even if the car hasn't been driven and the oil looks clean, oil degrades over time. And if we left this oil in here and drove it hard, or even drove it at all, we have a chance of doing engine damage. So we need to get this old oil out as soon as possible. Oh, the battery came out, I pulled so hard. All right, now we should just be able to. I'll just do it by hand.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you might not want to do that with a power tool.
All over that. All right.
Oh, it's dark.
But it's honestly, I'm just looking to see if I see anything shiny, because shiny means metal in the oil.
That oil looks very, very old though.
Come look at the oil itself. I'm gonna shine a light on it. And we're gonna look for sparkles. Sparkles mean bad. That's
There's
just
some
bubbles.
sparkles.
No, it's bubbles.
Oh, okay, you're right, it's bubbles.
No sparkles. They look a little different. Sometimes it's easy to confuse the bubbles for sparkles, but
Yeah,
you'll
those
know,
are
trust
bubbly.
me.
Yeah.
And the oil, like if you shine a light through the oil, it's pretty clear.
That's not bad.
It's so, in this case, I think we're actually okay. It's just really degraded.
That's probably good.
I just don't want to over tighten.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that's enough without absolutely cranking down. You definitely do not want to mess the drain plug bolt up. Otherwise, you'll at least be looking at an entire new oil pan.
Fun stuff.
And that sounds like something that will cost, again, more than the car. All right, let me get to this oil filter, and I swear it's in the worst place. It's literally like, no matter if you're at the top or the bottom of the engine.
You're reaching into the guts.
Yeah, let me get this wrapped around it so if it leaks. I've retrieved it. This doesn't look super old.
Is there a date?
All the writing is on it. Do they have dates?
Sometimes.
No, just a part number. Time to insert the new oil.
Oh, you gotta
filter.
lube it up, bro. Lube up the lip.
Oh yeah, people will be pissed if I don't give it a little lube.
Yeah, dip it into the death bucket.
See, the old one? or
Yeah,
the
it's
new
fine.
one?
The old one's fine. It's just for lubing up the thing. It's a good thing to do for sure, for the health of the O-ring and how well it seals.
Barely fits down here. You gotta be like, I have no idea why it's designed like this.
Cheap.
Okay. Now I'm going to just fill the oil fill, and then we'll raise it up and just make sure it's not leaking. A little bit of smoke out the back for a second, but
Yeah, that's fine. Building up nice
by the
oil
way,
pressure.
by the way, not even a check engine light.
Just the handbrake. Look,
No lights on the dash.
that's crazy.
That's rare for a $500 vehicle, especially a $500 sports car.
Should definitely get some good fuel in here soon.
Yeah, this fuel's probably toast.
She's rolling, man.
She's rolling, man. She drives mint.
Yeah.
Take her. Oh,
Heavy steering, brother.
no power steering.
Yeah.
It looks great.
Dude, not bad. Here, let me move this thing real quick.
Bro, you got it.
Let me take it first. I like how it moves the windshield washer fluid tank.
Take her out, brother.
She's ready to go, bro. Throw a license plate on her.
I'm not quite sure about that. There's some things getting wet there that shouldn't be getting wet. That's for sure. We have successfully Miata'd. It's definitely a long road before we can call that a nice running car, but look at her over there. They're just happy vehicles, and I think that's kind of the whole point of this, is that, like we said, YouTubers are going above and beyond with these McLarens and Ferraris and Lamborghinis, but if you want to put a smile on your face, you don't need a supercar, Jackson. I'm looking. Oh my God, see that? I'm smiling. This is all you need in life.
This is the world's cheapest sports car. A broken, messed up Mazda Miata that we picked up for just $500. And I bought it with one goal in mind, to build it into the best sports car on YouTube. Will that be possible? I honestly have no idea. But to find out, we have a lot of work to do, because this Miata was cheap for a reason. Now, one of the reasons this car was so cheap was because the last owner decided to do a paint delete, but he never got to the part where you put the paint back on the car.
Or, you know, put the car back together at all, because it's actually got all its panels sort of just laying around and not attached to the body itself.
So now we not only need to get the car back in one piece, but we also need to figure out how to get it painted. And I've never done any of this before. So let's give it a shot. A few days ago, me and Will already got started on prepping the Miata for its makeover, and that was by doing a lot of sanding. This car has been sitting inside and outside for the past few months, so it's developed a bit of surface rust, and we needed to get rid of all of that before doing anything else. We're using two different grits of sandpaper, one to rough the surface up as best as possible, and a finer grit to smooth it down. With that done, we can move on to the more difficult tasks. Now, the first step in getting this car back to even roadworthy is to fix the dents and holes in it. There is both, actually. First, we're gonna try to fix a dent. Now, I've never done bodywork before, so this is gonna be interesting. And I bought something, I'm scared. It's this. And no, YouTube, it's not what you might think it is on your algorithm there. It's actually a stud welder. It sounds dangerous, and I'm gonna try not to get hurt, but as you might be able to see, there is a slight indent here, and you can see all these little dots where it looks like someone tried to repair it before. I'm thinking the last owner. Now, the theory of a stud welder is you put a stud on and then you pull it out, and then the dent comes out. It's all a great theory until you put me behind the machine, and there's a lot of faults with it. So usually when I do things, they go wrong. Let's hope this doesn't. Oh, Now, I haven't read the directions on how to use this because I'm more of a trial by fire person, but I have put on some safety goggles to protect my eyes. Now, it comes with these studs, these little copper studs that I'm going to, I feel like a makeup tutorial person right now. But hopefully this will work. So from my understanding is you load it into the tip like so, and then I think you find the part you want to pull out, and you, oh yes. Ah! Okay, success. And now you take your slide hammer, which this one is, it has no branding, but it just says China on the side. So you know it's quality stuff. You're gonna just stick that on there, like so. Clamp it down, and then allegedly, oh, wow! Dude, I feel like an expert. Oh, it came back. Okay, now what I've heard, if the thing comes back, you see how it's going in and out? That you don't want that. I don't know how to get this off though now. Okay, so I sort of missed a step here. You pull the dent out, and then you tap around it to make, I guess, like little dents. Okay, wait. Oh, that can't be good.
Don't do that. Don't do what I did. That was bad. I made a hole in the car. Oh man. Well, it's not the end of the world, I think, because I'll just fill it with body filler, but did help though actually a little bit. I'm just gonna need to do a little extra work now, so that's not ideal.
Now clearly I'm no expert, but with a bit more trial and error, I'm starting to get the hang of this new method of dent removal. And with the dent pulled as best as possible, I can grind down the metal left on the surface from the studs, and then start to use body filler to finish everything off and make the surface as smooth as possible. Body filler is something else that I have no experience with, but thankfully it's a bit more straightforward. While all the Bondo is drying, we got to start to put the panels back on the car. I'm gonna leave the fenders off to make the painting easier, but I do want to at least have the trunk and door on. And I'm not sure if we have everything we need to make that happen, but we're gonna figure it out. But first off, we've sort of used the trunk as a dumping ground for things while we've worked on other cars. So there's a lot of stuff back here that I gotta pull out. There's parts of things, and yeah, it's not great. Luckily, the last owner who took the trunk off left all the nuts. That train is so annoying. Okay, well it turns out I got really lucky because 1990 Mazda Miatas have no trunk release. So if you close the trunk, you can't open it unless you have the key. And I only have the ignition key. The $500 Miata did not come with a trunk or door key, just the key to the ignition. So my key doesn't unlock the trunk, but because I have no tail lights, I can simply reach in and pop the trunk. I'm gonna need to get a key made for that before I put taillights in. Otherwise it's gonna be very challenging to get stuff out of the trunk. But for now, that's fine. We know how to release it. It works. Great. One part of the job done. Now that the Bondo is hardened, I can start to sand it down to smooth the edges and remove any higher uneven spots. For a first attempt, it actually came out kinda decent, but there are still some spots that need to be filled. So we're mixing up some more and then filling in the spots that need it most. Once that's hardened, we can diligently sand away until everything is as smooth as we can get it. And with that done, it's actually starting to look all right. I am actually properly impressed with me and Will's handiwork. This is the fixed zone, and while it's not 100% perfect, there's a couple little things here and here that are indents. It is very flat, and it will be good enough to paint, because before we paint, obviously it needs to get primered, then the primer gets sanded down. So as long as this is not a dent anymore and it's flat enough, it's good to go, in my unexpert opinion. But I'm actually, for the first time ever doing body work, that was actually kind of fun. Besides smelling Bondo, it smells horrible and it smells like it's hurting your brain. And I really need all the brain cells I can get.
We're running low these days.
Yeah, I am always running low on those things. So yeah, other than that, it's good. But now we move on to the more difficult side, and I'm a little nervous for it. And I'll show you why.
That's why.
Yeah. This side has a bit of a problem. The problem being it has a hole in it.
Yeah, which is not good. If you don't know about cars, a hole in your car, never great. That's not good.
It was cut out for what I imagine was rust, and I figured that out because there's some rust here.
Good work.
Yeah, I'm really a sleuth.
Scooby-Doo in this,
Now,
John.
because you can't just Bondo into an abyss, you get this. It's pretty much little miniature chain link fencing that you just put behind the hole, and then that acts as sort of a backing for the Bondo to stick to. Once it actually hardens, seals together, and not as good as metal, but good enough to paint, and it will look pretty good, and it will also make sure this hole doesn't exist anymore. So first things first, let's clean this hole up. We're gonna Rust-Oleum that.
Yeah. Sand it a little bit though, for sure.
Is this Rust-Oleum?
No.
Rust protection though. Now you might be wondering, why are you spraying that with spray paint? And the answer to that question is we don't want it to rust any further, and a lot of spray paints have rust protection. So when you spray it, it'll seal the rust in, and because we're putting Bondo over it and it's not metal, it shouldn't then continue to rust out. Like if we left the metal here, it would just spread. Allegedly.
I mean, it could go the other way, but
it could go the other way still. But I think this will protect it enough. The Bondo should seal it, and hopefully it doesn't come back.
We'll make it a problem in the future.
If it's a problem in the future, what we'll do is we'll trim it away fully and then have to redo our work. But I kind of think it'll be fine. It's not that much rust. It's been like this for 6 years and it hasn't really gone anywhere. So I think if we do this if we do this protection with the spray paint, hopefully that'll be enough to protect it. So let's let that dry for a second, and then we'll mix up some Bondo and shove it in there.
While I mix up some Bondo, Will is trimming a piece of mesh to fit behind the hole. The mesh has a bit of adhesive on it, so it sticks in place. And once it's in its final position, we can fill the rest of the hole with Bondo. Just like the other side, we're doing multiple layers of Bondo with some sanding in between. And after a few layers, it's starting to look ready for paint.
And just like that, we've turned a hole in the car into actual body. Now, again, of course, I'm not an expert, but I'm actually kind of proud of this work that I've been doing over here because it's my first time doing it, and it's kind of fun to do body work, turns out. And it also came out kind of all right. At least it looks so much better than it being a hole. Now, I'm sure if you're an expert out there, I probably did something wrong. I probably did a lot of things wrong. But it should be good enough for this car. When it gets painted, it's still gonna get primered and sanded and then painted. So it should be fun. And now the car is actually starting to look like a real car, minus, you know, fenders and all that. And paint, of course. But let's solve that.
To do that, we're taking it over to Mako. If you haven't heard of Mako, well, they're a body shop known for notoriously being very cheap and doing questionable work. We've done our research though and seen that our local Mako has great reviews. And after getting a quote from them that was less than 1/4 of what other body shops would charge us, we decided this was probably our best bet. So we put the car in a truck and took it straight to Mako.
So we have the Miata here. It's gonna be really cool. We have about 2 weeks of lead time, but the guys here are actually super cool. They seem like they're gonna be very helpful. Jackson's getting the car started. I still can't believe it drives and runs. What thing?
No, sometimes.
Oh, where the starter motor stays on?
Yeah. A little sticky.
Yeah, we got a sticky starter motor. It's got a few issues, but
Is that being a problem before?
oh no, I've heard of it. But yeah, it's gonna have some paint on it, and the next time you guys see this car, it's gonna be a very cool color that we're excited to tell you about. But we can't show you that just yet, so you're gonna have to wait. So bear with us. We're going to Goodwood right now. We're gonna go look at some sick cars, and then we'll see you guys when we're back.
Like Will said, while the guys at Mako work tirelessly to transform the Miata, we're traveling to London to go to the Goodwood Festival of Speed. Thankfully, the guys are keeping us updated. And while we're looking at race cars in the UK, our Miata is coming together really well. For a color, we chose Porsche Ultraviolet, a beautiful purple from the GT3 RS that we thought would look incredible on our little Miata. The color is coming out amazing, and as our trip comes to an end, the car is ready for us to pick up. So let's go grab it and check it out. I'm honestly really excited to see how it turned out.
Looky here, people.
Check this out. Now, this is quite something. I am excited to show you our PTS Ultraviolet Mazda Miata. Now, all the panels aren't on yet. We have all the panels. That's the next step. So this is not the completed look yet, and I'm excited to see it with all the panels because I think it's gonna look phenomenal. We have the bumpers, we have the fenders, we got it all. We gotta figure out how to put them on because we have no hardware. So you're about to see that, but let's first just check out what we have out here, the body of the car. Look at this paint job.
Dude, it's awesome.
I have heard a lot about Mako in general, about it being really cheap and you get what you pay for. That's usually very true. Now, every Mako is independently owned, something that I've learned. It's franchised. The guys who run this Mako are actual enthusiasts. They did a great job. Mako Framingham in Massachusetts. If you need an inexpensive paint job, they're the people to go to. Now, that being said, it's obviously not 100% perfect, but that is not Mako's fault. I would actually blame that on us because we did all the prep work and the body's very wavy and that's sort of, there was a lot to have to fix.
But hey, $500 Miata, man.
Yeah.
What do you want from me?
Look at this. If you remember, we did body filler here. You can't see it anymore. That is just purple PTS Ultraviolet. Over here, there was a big dent and Bondo. Bro,
She's mint.
I've never had a car painted in my life before. I've only ever done wrap. So this is exciting. And look at this. Look at this.
Oh Lord.
Door jams and all.
Dude, this thing is
We went a
sick.
little crazy. We spent a little extra on it. Got the door jams
Just
done.
for you guys.
But dude, it looks great. We can even probably pop the headlights up without anything detrimental happening.
Oh, baby. Oh, doctor. That's a happy vehicle if I've ever seen one.
Our Miata needs a name because it's really coming together now. Wow, it looks so good. But the Miata needs a name. So the top comment, the most liked comment will be the name of the Miata. Please. Nothing that will get me canceled.
Yes.
Only things that fit. Look, it's adorable. It needs an adorable name.
Clyde.
I kind of into Clyde. If you like Clyde, that's our pick. Clyde or Barney. Now the car is obviously not finished, but thankfully we have all the panels in the Raptor ready to go on. So let's get the Miata inside and put together, because it's gonna look amazing. We have all of our painted things, and I am very excited to see it all together. And to do so, we need to figure out how it goes together. Somehow, after going through the trunk, I found from the previous owner, fender passenger and fender driver, all labeled.
How kind.
Super helpful, actually. Doesn't mean we know how to put it on, but obviously you can see all the holes. So we'll just have to kind of figure out how it works. It feels like it mounts about a million places.
I'm gonna put you guys in a tripod so I can assist Mr. Jackson in this endeavor.
Unlike the last car we put together, the Miata is going quite smoothly. All the panels line up pretty well, and the bolt holes are exactly where they're supposed to be. So we're getting the fenders on quickly. With both fenders securely bolted down, minus one bolt on the driver's side that snapped in half, we can move on to the front bumper, which we have no hardware for. But there might be a strange solution. The fenders were pretty easy, although we need to fix one thing, but the last part of the front end, the front bumper. Now it turns out we don't need to run to the hardware store because Aston Martin body panels, or Aston Martin body bolt panels, or Aston Martin bolts for body panels.
Yeah.
That's the one.
Oh, there it goes.
Well, they are the same size. So,
Convenient.
very convenient. The Brits and the Japanese come together for like the first time ever.
All right.
With a combo of Aston Martin bolts and some generic hardware, we can get the front bumper mounted and aligned. Because the bumper spent years off the car getting bent and flexed in weird ways, it isn't really lining up perfectly on the first go. But once it is secured in mostly the right position, we can let it settle and hopefully it'll look good enough. There are a few clips and holes that are broken, but not enough to where we can't get it mounted solidly. And with that done, we can get a first good look at the completed purple front end. And now with the front end all together, William, do the honors please.
I feel like Vanna White.
Haha!
Miata!
Here, let me turn the headlights off.
Oh, baby. A Miata. Look at that. Tell me that doesn't just make you happy.
Oh, dude, it looks so good. That was one of the easier and more rewarding jobs because we didn't have to do a whole lot.
Yeah, that was great. Wow.
It's not 100% perfect, but that is 100% better than it was before.
Yeah, but now it's purple. Now it's not.
Dude, it looks sick. This looks all right.
This looks pretty good,
Dude, I'm excited. We have a lot going on this car. This is the first car where we will probably touch every single part of the entire vehicle. And it's gonna be good. We have a lot of crazy stuff planned.
This thing's
with
getting
car.
touched, brother.
So I'm excited. But dude, paint job, paint scheme, what do you think? PTS Ultraviolet on the
Bro,
old gal.
it's amazing.
The process for the rear bumper and fascia is very similar to the front. We have a bunch of spare hardware lying around, and to the best of our ability are mounting up every point we can find. With the rear bumper secured, we can pop the rear fascia on, and with that done, the car is all put together for the first time, which is super exciting and an insane transformation.
The Miata is together to our best ability, and now Jackson is going to bring it outside.
First, I'm gonna attempt to crank the window.
Yeah, crank the windows, bring it outside, so we can bask in the recently purple Miata's glory. And it's very, very glorious. Oh, you cranked that fast, bro. God dang. These windows have been down for many years, and they have sediments on them.
Oh,
What is it?
grabbing all this.
It's grabbing on the rubber?
Good thing that seals.
It's alright, bro. We'll never be driving this thing in the rain.
And look at this thing, man. This is quite the transformation. We have purple Miata.
This is a Miata that we bought for just $500, and this is $7,500 of suspension upgrades to turn this old beat-up sports car into a track monster.
As you just saw, we have a ton of new, nice stuff for this car, but we're not getting new everything. Some of these things, like the rear subframe, rear control arms, they may look gross to you, but I think they're reusable. But there's some work that needs to happen to them in order for them to actually be reusable, which we're gonna do first. Also, I just noticed this laughably tiny rear sway bar this car has. These are small little cars. Oh, and there's rust coming off of it. So yeah, we're gonna drop the entire rear subframe to start, disassemble it all, and then hopefully fix the stuff we're gonna reuse. This is something I've never done before, so I'm I'm cautiously confident on it, but let's give it a shot. In order to do that, we first need to drop the exhaust, which weirdly enough goes all the way to the front with no ability to take it off. So we're gonna have to figure that out.
Because this car is on the rusty side, getting the crusty old bolts removed won't be easy. To try to help, I'm soaking all of the bolts I know we need to remove with some penetrating oil. This helps remove some of the surface rust that's holding the bolts in place. The exhaust setup on this particular Miata is a bit strange and definitely modified. So it's only held on by 3 bolts at the front, which are a bit stuck, but with some brute force, they come right out. Then we can remove the hangers and drop the exhaust, which is the first step in removing the subframe.
That is exhausting. Oh, what the heck?
The next step is to remove this large brace, known as the PPF, or power plant frame. This brace connects the transmission and differential and acts as a backbone to the entire power delivery system in the car. It also holds the differential in place, which is attached to the subframe. So if we want to get the subframe out, we also need to remove this. The PPF is held in by a few long studs, which are screwed to it through some very strange threaded inserts. With the bolts removed, the PPF won't budge. And after a bit more research, it's because the inserts are holding it in place. It just so happens that the inserts are also very much stuck. But with a little brute force and ignorance, and of course a hammer, I can finally get them out, and then we can hopefully pry the PPF out as well.
What's it stuck on?
Something.
It's getting stuck on this hanger, this exhaust hanger. We need to go out one side at a time, like this. Yeah. Yay!
PPF.
The PPF is out.
That took PP forever.
With the brace removed, now we can take care of the rest of the easy stuff. The brakes and the brake lines are attached to the car, so it's easier to just remove them from the subframe and hang them somewhere else as we take the subframe out. With everything that's staying with the car removed from the subframe, we can drop it down onto a table jack and start to disconnect the suspension from the top. With that all taken care of, now we can drop the subframe down out of the car and get it ready for disassembly with a lot of penetrating oil, because this thing is super rusty.
The subframe is out of the car.
And I've soaked every bolt.
So now that means that we should wait for the bolts to get soaked fully, and then we can start to dismantle everything that's on the subframe that can come off. Basically, we're taking off.
Yes. And then we can actually clean the subframe. If you look at the top, like this is all very,
That's the test.
that's the test of all time. Everything is very solid. There's just a lot of flaky rust coming off, so we're gonna power wash it, and then we're gonna take a wire brush, clean it all off, respray paint the whole thing, and hopefully, I think this will be reusable.
Removing all the suspension arms and struts from the subframe shouldn't be too difficult, and at first it doesn't seem to be. But there's one bolt that we were warned about that's apparently very difficult to remove. The lower control arm has a very long bolt that goes through its mounting point to the wheel hub. And it turns out the warnings were very, very justified.
It's lifting my whole body. Is it moving?
Nuts, dude. Jeez, it's Larry.
It's a lot of pounds of pressure because my whole body is on this and it's moving.
Yeah, I'm like definitely deadlifting right now. I'm about to die. It is twisting it.
It is? Is that threaded? Oh God.
We need more.
We need more. We need more juice.
Oh! You're right there. All right, now use it. Now use the gun. Little more. Come on. Oh! You do not need to do that. Is not how hard you need to. Now we might be able to tap it.
With the first insanely difficult bolt removed, the rest of the suspension on this side of the subframe is coming off pretty easily. And with that all removed, we can move on to the other side and see if that bolt will be any easier.
explode the whole car.
I'm moving it.
Is there anything neat? Oh, here, stop. I'm gonna breeze.
That would be a little easier. And now we can just, now we can go that way to get on.
Go stand on that corner. Go stand on that corner. How do you go more down? So you get there.
Yeah, we are pushing this thing. I think we should use a gun now.
It turns out it wasn't. But with it removed, we can now dismantle the rest of the suspension and finally get to the more interesting part of this project. Welcome to Jackson and Will's Restoration Shop, where today we're gonna restore the subframe and miscellaneous things. We've never done this before. I feel like one of those YouTube channels that takes a shovel that's rusty and makes it a new shovel, and they took all that time, and then you just could have bought a shovel at Home Depot. That's sort
Well,
of
you can't buy this at Home Depot.
No. So, we are going to restore the subframe and control arms, and the knuckles, and all the bolts that are attached to it.
Yeah.
And all the bushings are gonna be replaced because we're making this car oh so perfect. So you're pretty much watching a restoration, which I know gets millions of views, so you better like this video and subscribe. Now on this side, we have the subframe and control arms, which will be getting the treatment from Mr. Metal Drill. That is dangerous, and should also take off the rust. Now, while we're taking care of that, this is a two-step process. Follow me over here. I bought a new tool, and that is an ultrasonic cleaner. Have you never seen an ultrasonic cleaner? It's pretty much a bath of acid. In our case, we're not using a very strong acid, we're using vinegar. And don't worry, internet, this is it's just dish detergent. And it does start, as you can see, that was clear. It starts to take the rust off the bolts. Now they need a little help because we're not using scary acid. So we're gonna use a little bit of sandpaper and a little bit of these. And then we're gonna turn the pile of rust into usable Miata subframe. At least that's the goal. We've never done something like this before, so let's get into it.
I got my mask. I got my drill.
Safety glasses.
And now, I do need safety glasses. Thank you, Jackson, for saving my eyeballs. How safe do I look right now on a scale from 1 to 10? Because I feel like a 3, but I'm gonna do it.
Now we've never done anything like this before, but based on our research, it's a pretty time-consuming project, especially if you don't have super high-end equipment. So Will and I are gonna split up to tackle the subframe and the bolts at the same time. The subframe is a bit more of a brute force ordeal. Will is just taking an aggressive wire brush attached to a drill and grinding down the subframe until all, or at least most, of the surface rust is gone. While Will keeps grinding away, I'm running all the hardware through our ultrasonic cleaner. Unfortunately, the ultrasonic cleaner we bought isn't great, and neither is my cleaning solution. So it's taking a few passes through the machine and a lot of elbow grease with a wire brush to get the bolts looking halfway decent. Now right now, you're probably wondering, why would you even bother doing all of this? Especially after the amount we spent getting all the upgraded parts for this job. But to be honest, it's pretty simple. This car cost us $500. If there are parts that we aren't upgrading, refurbishing the old ones makes way more sense than spending thousands of dollars to get the same stock part. Not only that, but if the part is salvageable, it would be a waste to just throw them out in favor of new ones. So even though it's quite a long process, we're going to do our best to save these parts. Although it's much more difficult than we anticipated.
Okay, now it's not perfect, but those are some freshly rust removed items from the subframe. Again, we're not using the strongest of chemicals here. In fact, pretty much nothing. So the fact that we can get this result from all this junk is pretty good. I'll be curious to see how these nuts turn out though. So let's do that next. Okay, this is looking absolutely disgusting, but we'll load those in. Set it to the highest setting, 480 seconds. Turn the heat on, let it run. It does some crazy stuff in there. You can try to see. It makes also a horrendous sound. but I think it works. At least it did a decent job on these. I also oiled them. Something that I have forgotten is chemistry, but when you use an acid on a metal and you leave it there, it's gonna rust, or it's gonna get some bad corrosion on it. So you need to neutralize the acid, thank you chemistry class, with something basic. And it turns out that a lot of oils are basic. So if we put a little oil on them, they should stop them from rusting, and then we'll neutralize the acid, come back to pH, a balanced pH, and then hopefully they'll be good to go. That's my chemistry lesson of the day that I forgot about and then relearned. So thanks to my 8th grade chemistry professor, teacher, whatever you are. And now we're going to pull them out. It's very hot. Ow. They are still obviously gonna look a little gross, but they've cleaned up a bit. You can hear Will going at the subframe in the background there. But they've cleaned up a little bit. We're gonna now have to wire brush them and sand them. And that will help. And then we can run them through one more cycle in here. God, this water is hot and gross. I need to make sure I don't miss any of these nuts here.
A few moments later.
Turn that old pile of rusty bolts into not perfect, but usable, less rusty bolts and nuts. That looks a million times better, and I'm honestly pretty happy with the result for my first time doing something like this.
Meanwhile,
This is very grueling, but honestly, it's making a big difference. And I think the effort will be worthwhile because we're gonna stop this from rusting any further. And hopefully give this car a little bit more life and then put the new bushings in. Should drive awesome. I think we should get a new diff though, Jackson. What are your thoughts?
We need something with limited slip.
Yeah, this thing has, the slip is all it can give you.
Love slip.
It's got unlimited slip, bro.
We're making good progress on our rust removal, and after many long hours, the subframe is nearly ready for its first coat of paint. Before we do that though, we need to clean off all the dust and debris we created when removing the rust. And because we can't think of a better way to do it, we're using a pressure washer. With the subframe cleaned and dried, now we can start to lay down the paint.
This is the Will and Jackson paint booth, and this is how it works. Jackson holds up the thing, and I spray real nice style. Hey man, chill. Our paint booth, it keeps moving away. Yeah. I might have gone a little overboard. Need Jackson to reload me.
While we're painting the restored suspension components, we have another major portion of this job to deal with, and that's the old crusty bushings. Rubber suspension bushings are what allow suspension components to move around without creating much noise and reducing harshness. The problem with rubber bushings though is that over time they fall apart and stop working as they should. This can cause horrible clunking and affect how a vehicle handles and drives as well. To fix that, we're going to be removing all the old crusty rubber bushings and replacing them with stiffer polyurethane bushings, which should hopefully make the car drive even better than brand new. Removing bushings is always difficult though. They're designed to fit very snug so they can't move around, which makes them a pain to extract. However, with a makeshift press, we can remove them. And even though they're putting up a fight, we're making good progress. Inserting the new poly bushings is considerably easier. They come in two pieces that you insert from either side of the hole. They're also much more of an exact fit, so they slide in much easier as well, which is nice. With all the old crappy bushings replaced and the bolt sleeves inserted, we can finally get ready to put everything back in the car.
Now we're ready to put the rear subframe back together. The front's gonna be a whole lot easier because the front's actually in much better shape and we don't need to take everything out.
And we definitely didn't start doing this already and do it wrong. That didn't happen.
Yeah, it's totally not like I messed up and then had to restart. That didn't happen or nothing. So now we're gonna get this all put together. So let's do it.
Now that all the rust is removed, everything should go back together much easier. And it looks like it is. We're reusing the factory control arms and wheel hubs, but replacing the rest of the suspension components. It's important that we install all of these arms correctly, because they're used in part to align the car, and if the bolts are too loose or too tight, it can cause serious issues with our suspension. Thankfully though, everything is going on smoothly, and with all the parts we're reusing back on, now we can get into the more fun part of the job. the modification. Now that the rear subframe is de-rusted, cleaned up, and put back together, we can move on to some more exciting stuff. We're of course gonna need to do similar-ish things to the front control arms, but we'll wait until we get over there. Now, when we were thinking about modifying this car, there was only one company that we wanted to get parts from, and that's Flying Miata. They make the best stuff for Miatas. Flying Miata's website, they sell only the stuff that they like. Their own parts and some other brands' parts, but they literally only pick stuff that is the best for Miatas, and they've been doing it a long time, so they know. This is one of the Flying Miata sway bars. Check it out compared to the stock original one.
God, that thing is janky, that old one.
A lot beefier. We have all new hardware and all new bolts for it. Let me pull those out. And new sway bar bushings. But truly, this will be quite good, and new end links. These are adjustable end links. So this car is actually gonna have quite a lot of adjustability that it did not have before. The sway bars are pretty easy to install. When you're replacing end links, it's always a good idea to set them to a similar length to the factory end links, and then adjust from there depending on how everything feels. With that done and everything bolted down, the subframe is almost ready to go back into the car. We're just missing one key component. The rear subframe is looking clean, and it's almost done, but it needs the final touch, and that is
Oh man.
Flying Miata coilovers. These are the VMAX, I think, Extreme Contact. I can't remember.
Nope, that's a tire.
That's a tire.
VMAX Extreme Sports.
VMAX. Put the name on the screen, Will.
Yeah.
I'll hold them.
Yeah, so that's what these are.
And these are the last thing that needs to go on, and then we can start putting the front together, and then we have some really exciting stuff to put on at the end, so you're gonna wanna stick around. And after that, we'll have probably a much better Miata.
Yeah.
Actually, almost certainly a much better Miata. So, to get these coilovers on, I'm hoping it's pretty easy, because getting them off only took me a second. But I believe it's just a bolt, one single bolt that rolls through here.
Yeah.
So, let me grab those bolts real quick. These here
You need the
bolts.
nuts too, brother.
No, they don't. They're threaded.
They're threaded?
Into the subframe.
This guy.
Yeah. It's gonna face outwards. These have adjustability and dampening, which I always do like. Not that I really could, I'm no Max Verstappen, I couldn't tell you what's gonna be better. The coilovers bolt right in very easily. And now the subframe is ready to go into the car. Just like we removed it, we're lifting it up on our table jack and then lowering the car back down onto it. We also cleaned up the subframe bolts, so those are going in perfectly. And now we can bolt in the top of the coilovers, and the rear end is finished, which is super exciting. All right, the subframe is back in. Ooh, so good, and it's looking amazing. Look at this. On camera, oh my gosh, with all the new Flying Miata parts, we're practically in the Mazda factory over here. We've redone everything to our best ability, and it's like brand new. So, that is step one of our suspension overhaul, and we need to start getting to steps 2 and 3. But that is a great start, and we're getting just a little bit closer to turning this Miata into a true sports car monster. Hopefully, at some point, it'll be beating some Ferraris, Lamborghinis, Porsches around track. We have a long way to go, and we're gonna need to test out this suspension first. But that is not too shabby. I'm pretty happy with how that came out. So let's get this on to step number 2. Our process for the front end of this car is going to be very different, and that's for a good reason. In the near future, we'll be replacing the entire front subframe and all of the suspension arms in favor of another very different setup. But more on that later. So for now, we're just going to install the upgraded coilovers and sway bar up front, which is super quick and easy. The old coilovers are held in by just a few bolts on top and a single bolt on the bottom. And then they just drop out and you can pop in the new ones, which fit perfectly because they're from Flying Miata. The sway bar is also pretty easy, and we can just unbolt and drop out the old one and slot in the new one. And with that done, the suspension is fully complete for now, which means we only have one more modification left, and it's a big one. If you were paying attention in the intro, you probably saw these beautiful wheels from Flying Miata and some sticky tires. So now I'm gonna mount said sticky tires to said beautiful wheels so we can get them onto the car. Since we did so much work to the suspension, it would be a complete waste of money to not put better wheels and tires on to maximize the grip of the new suspension. Light wheels and grippy tires make a huge difference on how cars drive, so I'm definitely looking forward to driving this car once it's all done. With all the tires mounted, we can head back to the shop and get the wheels on the car. And finally, lower it down for the first time onto the new suspension and wheels. So let's see how it all looks.
And just like that, we have what feels like a totally new Miata from when we first got it. It's painted, it's sitting on sick flying Miata wheels, it has coilovers, it has a ton of upgrades to the suspension, all new bushings, all refurbished subframe in the rear. We still have some stuff to do to the front, which I'm excited about. New sway bars, but this thing is a completely changed vehicle.
This is our $500 Miata, and this is $2,500 of performance mods that we're about to put on it. You might be thinking to yourself, Jackson, you're gonna dump so much money into this little Miata, and it's probably not gonna get a whole lot of extra power, because as some of you might know, Miatas, they have pretty small engines. This one being the smallest. This is a 1.6 liter engine that makes pretty much no power. However, if we're planning to beat a supercar, we're gonna need some extra juice. We're gonna see how much power we can really extract from this motor, and we do have quite a few things to make the car quicker. But at the end of the day, we have to remember that sticky tires and suspension does a lot on the racetrack, but it probably won't be enough on its own. So we're gonna have to see how much power we can extract from this engine, and then we'll see if we're gonna need a different engine. But there's only one way to find that out, and that's to see if we can get this really fast. I don't know where we should start. Will, where should we start?
We could start easy with the intake.
Nothing better than an intake, I'll tell you what.
Mod 1, intake!
The first mod we're gonna do is to solve one of the Miata's biggest issues right now. This is the intake. Somebody did do us a favor by putting a non-factory intake on, but it does move around quite a bit, which isn't necessarily the biggest problem, but the biggest problem is this, right here. This is a small little gap right here, and that is the headers, which means they get incredibly hot. This is the intake, which preferably needs cold air. So right now, the engine is sucking in a ton of hot air, which is not necessarily great for performance. And we're looking for performance, which is why we have gone ahead and got this. A heat shield and a different intake system. This should ideally block the heat from coming over to the intake. It's not perfect because the intake is still all the way back here, but it's a lot better. And hopefully the engine will be a whole lot happier. So let's get to getting this one off. Somebody really, this is some real engineering right here.
Oh my God, I did not realize that's how that was.
It's just zip tied to the body of the car.
Wow, that's actually crazy.
Wait, what the?
Don't worry about that.
Installing a cold air intake is one of the most simple and satisfying mods you can do to a car. On an old car like the Miata, it's as simple as removing a few hose clamps to take the old air filter out. With that done, now we can install the upgraded heat shield, which will hopefully help funnel cooler air into the intake, helping us make a bit more power. A cold air intake usually doesn't get you too much extra power, but what it can do is make the car sound way cooler. And because of how weird the Miata engine bay is, maybe the gains will be noticeable. With the new filter on and everything bolted securely into place, we should be good to go. Just like that, the intake is in. That was the easiest of the mods. It's only gonna get harder from here, but hopefully some of the heat will now be blocked, or at least most of it, I hope. And hopefully that'll mean less heat soak, more power. But you never know. It looks more sporty in the engine bay.
It does look better.
Mod 2, door bushings!
The next mod is rather straightforward, but it makes a huge difference. This is the modification. Now, it looks like kind of nothing, and honestly, it isn't really much. It's really a piece of plastic, but it makes a massive difference. With convertibles, there's a lot of flex in the car itself. There's obviously no roof, which means it's not a very rigid thing. This car can flex around a bit. This soft top is not offering any structure. So the next strongest point of the car is the door. And if your door does all that, it's not very strong. So what this does is actually just a door bushing. It mounts right here where the original door bushing goes, and then it nestles perfectly into down here where it goes. And then it'll stop the door from moving around a lot, and in turn,
actually make the car a lot more rigid than it originally was. This can increase the car's handling by quite a lot for literally less than $40. Made by Flying Miata, by the way. So if you want these and you have a Miata, go check it out. And they're allegedly pretty easy to install. It's just literally two bolts. I think we can do that. That's crazy. Now we do the other side. Same process, pretty easy. I love mods like this. It's a lot of reward for not a lot of work and not a lot of money.
Ignore the fact that it's a screw on this side.
To be honest with you, the original door bushings, they weren't here for some reason. When the past owner stripped the car to do the paint job that he did, he did take quite a few things off the vehicle. One of which was the original door bushings, the really soft rubbery ones. So that's why there's none here. And also why there's no bolts. So I'm just having to improvise with some bolts that I had because for some reason everything threads into a Miata. Dude, that sounds more so. Like they go nowhere.
Yeah, that's pretty solid.
That's pretty good.
Mod 3, short shifter.
Next, we have a very exciting mod. Actually, probably the one I'm most excited for. It's gonna replace this ye old shifter. Pretty good shifter, but it could be better. Let me show you. An IRP shifter. And it's gonna be a whole lot better, but we do need to take apart what looks like pretty much the entire center console. So let's do that, and then install this, and then feel the best shifts on earth. At least that's the hope. To install the short shifter, we first have to remove the factory shifter. And in the Miata, that means taking out the entire center console. Luckily for us, it's not super difficult. And with the shift knob removed alongside all the bolts, we can pry it off and see what's lurking underneath it.
Oh, okay.
Some of that is factory.
That's so weird, dude. I hate that.
I think I need gloves for this. Are those like nuts?
What the? Dude, that's so gross.
I'm so confused. Oh my goodness.
Really rusty in there.
With all the mystery garbage vacuumed out, we can start removing the factory shifter. It comes out pretty easily, and with a few bolts on the plate that separates the transmission from the interior and a few more on the shifter itself removed, it should just pop right out.
Oh yeah. Oh my glute.
Juice. Dreaded juice. The old one is out.
Installing the new shifter is immediately proving to be much more difficult than removing the old one. Because the bushings on it are all brand new, it's very difficult to get it to slot into the mechanism in the transmission that allows it to change gears. And even if we do get it in, it's so stiff that we can't actually test if it's working, which is adding to the confusion. After trying and failing for about 20 minutes, Will's decided he has a new method of getting it installed: brute force and ignorance. So let's see if that works.
I really wouldn't do that.
Just a tap.
I think it's really bad. Yeah, it's not. I don't think so. I think it's bad.
Nope, I think it's great.
No, it's now super loose.
It was down.
No, it wasn't. I just pulled it out with so much ease.
Yeah, you pulled that out with ease too.
All right, try it again.
It 100% goes right in.
With a few hits from a metal sledgehammer, the shifter fits perfectly, somehow. And now we can bolt it into place. These styles of short shifters require a bit of tuning to work perfectly. In our case, we have a screw that you insert on each side of the shifter that stops it from going any further than it's supposed to. With those installed and set perfectly, we can feel it out.
The shifter is installed, and I am drenched in sweat and transmission fluid, but all for this. Demonstration purposes. Wah, 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 wah.
I'm super happy. The shifter feels absolutely incredible and moves the shifter much closer to the steering wheel, which is ideal for track driving. With everything tightened down, we can reinstall the rest of the interior over the new shifter and get ready to install the next mod, which is one you might not be expecting.
Mod 4 engine mounts.
Hello, we're under the car. And that's for good reason. We're about to replace the engine mounts. Now, these are upgraded engine mounts. They have better bushings, they're very nice metal on the outside, and they should be stiffer, which will mean car stiffer, car handle better.
Something like that, sure.
All I know is we spent money on this and it's supposed to do something good.
Yeah.
So we're gonna install it because the money's been
You
spent.
can shift faster because there's less slop in the system.
And faster shifting means faster around track. I'm not gonna say it's gonna be easy because then we'll completely jinx ourselves. Every time I say that, it takes way longer. So I'm gonna say it's gonna be incredibly difficult and we're gonna struggle a lot. So let's get the old ones out so then we can put the new ones in. Now the first step, as Will is doing here, is while hitting me with it, is attaching the screw jack to the oil pan.
Attaching is a loose term.
Now the reason he's doing this is because obviously the engine mounts hold the engine to the car itself. So to take the engine mounts out, we need to take all of the engine pressure off of them, hold it up for a little bit, and then jam the new ones in, put the engine back down onto the new ones, and bam! Allegedly, that's how it works. It's a little intimidating lifting an engine up though with no engine mounts. Okay, so the screw jack's in place. It's holding the weight of the engine right now, and we should be able to get all the bolts off. So let's do that.
When you think of changing motor mounts, it sounds pretty intimidating, but actually it isn't terribly difficult. With the weight of the engine off the mounts, you can unbolt them, and since the old ones are slightly worn, they slide out with no problem. The new ones, however, are giving us a bit more of an issue. The holes simply won't line up. And after spending a good 20 minutes trying to figure it out, I'm starting to feel kinda defeated. But then we decided to do a bit more Googling and realized that the engine mounts were put together incorrectly, which is a little surprising, but luckily also a simple fix. With the mounts put together correctly this time, everything lines up perfectly. So now we can bolt the engine back together and hope that everything is attached properly.
And just like that, the engine mounts are in. Will, test it. Oh, good. Oh, yeah.
It's definitely in.
Mod 5 big brake kit.
Now, in order to make our $500 Miata quite fast around track and beat supercars, we need to be able to brake. Braking is important. Now, observe. Bad brakes. Have you observed for long enough? And look at the front. Also bad brakes. And you don't even need to see it. You just know, I'm telling you. You know what's good?
Yeah.
Good brakes.
Whoa, man.
$2,000 worth of brakes here. We have not only Brembos, but we also have giant front Willwoods. Most of the braking happens at the front, so you want the biggest brakes at the front. Look at these. We have the big brake kit for a Miata.
Oh, that's fancy.
I've always wanted something like this. I always looked it up online and I was like, those brakes, those are expensive, but one day I'm gonna put them on a car. Now, I didn't think it'd be a $500 Miata, but boy, I am excited about it. Yeah, we're gonna do this. It should hopefully be relatively simple, although I've never done a big brake kit before, and they have like these floating thingies that are happening.
Multi-piece rotors.
But yeah.
How hard can it be?
Right, how hard could it be?
The famous last words of every overconfident mechanic. If only the boys knew the struggles that lay ahead of them.
Most of this big brake kit install is actually familiar territory for us, because it's fairly similar to a regular brake job. We're starting with the front, because in theory, that'll be the most complicated. Removing the old rotors, pads, and calipers is super simple, and in just a few minutes we have everything off. But now we're running into a new issue, the brake lines. To maximize performance, we've elected to add some stronger stainless steel brake lines to improve performance and pedal feel. The old lines are extremely corroded though, and are giving us a ton of trouble to remove. With everything disconnected, it's still unclear how to actually detach the lines themselves. After prying, hammering, and twisting everything, we can't figure it out. But luckily, Will decided to try to just pull it really hard. And somehow, it seems to be working. With the new brake line installed, I can mount the new rotor, caliper, and pads, and do the same on the other side. It seems like they're actually going on perfectly. So with everything tightened down, the front big brake kit installation is finally done.
Remember that part where I said the fronts are all done? I lied, but I didn't know I was lying. Turns out when you bolt the wheel back on, or just the studs, you can no longer spin it.
Yeah.
And that's because it's touching the rear brake pad when it's bolted all the way down, which is not gonna work. I think there are these little spacers in the kit that kind of push this caliper forward, which is obviously at least part of the reason why it's touching that pad. So if we take those spacers out, I'm hoping our problem is just solved magically.
I think it will.
That would be so cool, and then I would be so confused as to why the spacers were even included in the kit. Maybe it's for like a
NB
Miata? I don't know. Let's see if that fixes it. Luckily for me, removing these spacers is super simple. Just a couple bolts and I can put it all back together. And now I can bolt the wheel back on and see if it works. Heck yeah, dude. Look at that. Oh, let me just go this way now.
That's the way it'll actually be going mostly.
Yeah, honestly, that was
clean there.
That was really an easy fix. With the front all functioning properly, finally, we can now move to the rear, which should be easier because we're just using brand new OEM parts, plus some Brembo rotors. Thankfully, this rear is going a lot better, and everything is going on perfectly. However, we're running into one small issue, and it might be one that we're not able to fix without a new part, and that's the brake hardline. In the last Miata video, we took out the rear subframe, which required us to remove one of the brake lines, and when we tried attaching it to the new brake line, it immediately stripped. Luckily, we got a new one in quickly, so let's install it.
We have a new hard line. Here it is. Because we broke the old one. Not very interesting, but it's gonna make it work. And
We can make it interesting. Montage the brake line.
What the hell? Okay, it sounds like
Cinematic brake line.
cinematic brake line install, but
Bro, we should cinematic brake line install with some like crazy EDM music.
cinematic brake line install.
With the lines all hooked up, we can do the last step of the brake job, which is to bleed the brakes. To do this, we have to go to every corner of the car, starting with the furthest away from the braking system. I can then pump the pedal a bunch to pressurize. I'm pumping. And Will can open a valve on the caliper to let out all the air that was in the system. Now we just have to repeat this a few times on each caliper, and we should be good to go.
The brakes are bled, and I got this delicious cup of the forbidden juice to prove it. I'm not gonna drink it, even though Jackson probably wants me to, but the brakes are bled. We got some good pedal feel. They seem to be all functioning correctly, and now the car will be able to stop. Now, we just have to bolt the exhaust on, and then we'll be good to go. We can drive it maybe, hopefully, maybe.
Yes.
Mod 6 exhaust!
When we started to install the new exhaust, we quickly found a problem. The old manifold studs had been stripped and the new nuts simply wouldn't thread onto them. So now we need to drill the old studs out and replace them with new bolts. But the only way to make that happen is to remove the entire manifold, which is what we're doing right now. Oh yeah, baby. Headers are now off. The quality on these are insane. If these are factory Mazda headers, I got some words for Mazda, bro. But they were relatively easy to get out. Now we just need to figure out how to get these off. As per usual, the easiest method is just brute force. So we're gonna bust the old angle grinder out and try to get the studs as small as possible. And then we'll bring in the drill and painstakingly drill out all of the old metal. This is a slow and tedious process, but it's our only method at this point. We have drilled out the exhaust, and by we, I mean mostly Will.
Hey, you know what? It was a team effort.
I just did one of them and Will did too. But now, as you can see, well, kind of see, the holes are there. They don't perfectly line up.
But there are holes for small bolts that will hopefully hold the exhaust on.
Yes. So we are now gonna reinstall the headers, and then finally, after what should have been 5 minutes and then took a whole day, put the exhaust on. It's the simple things that always go wrong with cars.
and they take way longer than you think they're gonna take. So let's get the headers back on. I think it should be relatively straightforward now, but you never really know. So yeah, I'm gonna cross my fingers and hope it all works out.
You just put the header on upside down and just dump it out the
shoot
hood.
it out the hood. Why didn't we think of that?
We decided this time around to go with the exhaust facing the normal way, and honestly, it's pretty easy to install. Most header systems are really tough to take on and off because the bolts are in hard to reach places. But with the Miata, it's a piece of cake. And with those in, we can finally attach the rest of the exhaust. Or at least, that's what we thought. For some reason, none of the exhaust pieces are lining up correctly, and we're really struggling to figure out why. But after some digging, I think I understand now.
We had a bit of a dilemma. We were trying to get the exhaust on, but for some reason it just wasn't mounting correctly and it didn't look right. And we couldn't figure out what the problem was because the exhaust that came off the car was not stock. So we actually didn't know at the time that we were missing a piece. And that piece was the catalytic converter. Now, we decided to opt not to go for an actual catalytic converter because the car is exempt from any emissions rules here in this state. So we're going with a test pipe, which is the same length as a catalytic converter, but it just deletes it out. And I'm hoping that this is the correct piece that we were missing, and now the exhaust will go on smoothly.
And smoothly, it did go. With the correct piece, everything now bolts perfectly into place. Who would have thought? And we can finally hear what the Flying Miata exhaust sounds like.
The O2 sensor wasn't plugged in, so it's just leaking from that hole. I should probably fix that real quick, and then we'll retry it again. All right, take two. O2 sensor is plugged in this time, so let's hope that it actually works and it's not leaking from other places. Yes! Success! Now before we drive it though, we have another problem that I need to take care of that I sort of remembered last minute. And that's the tail lights. Now, we can't drive around without tail lights. I could put tail lights in, I have tail lights that can go in, and it seems easy. But there is a second issue, and that is we have no key to open the trunk. The trunk is not the ignition key. Oh wait. I was kidding, apparently. I didn't know that worked. I thought I tried that before. Wow, I look real stupid right now. There's no issue. Let's put the taillights in. What am I doing?
Luckily, the taillights were super easy, and with them in, we can take this thing on the road.
We are inside the Miata for its maiden voyage, and it's awesome. First off, the shifter is, I feel like I'm a real race car driver. Look at this. That's pretty good, but most importantly, because we've done so many suspension modifications, we need to know how it feels in a turn. Very good. I could have gotten into that turn with way more speed. This car is absolutely planted now. It makes a lot of rattling sounds though when you hit bumps, which is slightly alarming. And I'm a little worried maybe we haven't bolted everything together perfectly.
Look how sharp the steering is.
Oh my god.
And oh no.
Oh, she rides like butter.
Besides all the rattles, if you ignore all the rattling, which is, I'm honestly not sure what it is. It feels amazing. And we have some incredibly sticky tires. Tires that are probably way overkill for the amount of power that we have in this car. Everybody wanted to see, that's the actuation there on the old pop-up headlights. Oh yeah. And that makes it way faster. So now we're in aerodynamic mode. Check this turn out. Ready? Stay there. I mean, you could go around that probably at 100 miles an hour and it'd be fine. Well, there's two problems that have presented themselves. The suspension is amazing, and I think that the suspension is capable of turning with the same aggression as a Ferrari. The suspension is there. However, if we want to beat a Ferrari, there's two issues. One, we are really down on power. This car is super slow. I'll demonstrate. I'm gonna go flat out in second gear right now. It's, oh my god.
It's a bit slow. It's a bit sluggish. We're gonna need to fix that problem. And secondly, the interior, like the steering wheel, the seats, they're not really matching the whole vibe of being on track, and I can move around a bit in these seats when I'm turning. The steering wheel is super big. I think we'll get a sharper turning with a new steering wheel. So we're gonna need to fix both of those problems, and we're gonna need to fix them fast if we want to beat a Ferrari around track.
This is a problem. You see, I bought this $500 sports car with one goal in mind, to beat a Ferrari around track. However, it's not so easy. Which is why I bought $5,000 of interior parts to take this old crappy interior and completely redo it. Why put so much money into the interior? You may think upgrading the interior doesn't make the car any faster, but you'd actually be wrong. And as we replace these old horrible parts, we'll explain why each of them will make our car faster on track. There's still another issue though. Upgrading interiors can be really difficult, as we've experienced before, and this could be the most challenging one we've faced yet. On top of that, we need every advantage we can get in order to take down a Ferrari, which is gonna happen very soon. So we have to get this done as quickly as possible. So let's get into changing this 30-year-old crusty interior into an interior for a real deal race car. Now, step one of getting all of our nice interior stuff in is getting all the bad interior stuff out. Very self-explanatory. So now me and Will are gonna use brute force ignorance to get this death trap and all the other bad stuff out. I'm sure it'll go super smoothly.
Yeah. Now, Jackson, would you like to explain to these lovely ladies and gentlemen why we're getting rid of this beautiful chrome piece here?
Wow, it is quite nice. Well, you see, I just took it off with 2 bolts, and as something that's supposed to protect you in a rollover, that's bad. This is really, really hollow aluminum, so it is not structural at all. If you roll over, these are known to go around your neck like that and then strangle you.
They call this cage the mouse trap or the rat trap because it doesn't do anything to save you, it just harms you brutally. So we have a nice new one that will actually save our lives because as much as we like going fast, we also like breathing and living.
It's weird, but I do like it.
Yeah, it's fun.
This is, of course, the old roll cage, which is terrible, and this is the new one. That is far safer and also far more structural. So now, Will and I won't just get choked out by that when we crash, which is probably inevitable. Well, that's taken off. I think what we should do, because we're putting the new one in, this is like a proper cage that we got that's really gonna protect us, and it's also gonna stiffen the car a lot. We need to take a lot out to get to it, so it's honestly helpful if we just take the seats out too.
Luckily for us, Miata interiors are pretty simple. The seats are held in by just 4 bolts each, so getting them out is really easy. While they're out, I'm gonna take advantage and vacuum underneath them because there are decades of disgustingness under here. With the seats removed, I can now get to removing the carpet that's in the way of where the cage will go. The cage bolts into the car in 6 different spots rather than just 2 like the old one. So it's sturdier, safer, and also makes the car stiffer, which will improve handling. Unfortunately, that also means it's a bit more difficult to install. And after trying to test fit it, I'm realizing it'll require some modification. We need to cut the bulkhead because the roll bar doesn't just fit. There is some interference with the metal, which is how it's supposed to be. They advise that you cut about, I don't know, they had an exact measurement. I'm just gonna cut a bunch. We're gonna start cutting with the tin snips because there's a gas tank here, and if we cut with an angle grinder, we could spark it. Getting the cage to seat properly is quite the boring process. Basically, we're just taking it in and out over and over while cutting out everything that appears to be in the way. After many boring rounds of cutting and test fitting, it seems like we're getting really close to everything lining up. Okay, so the roll bar, as you can see, is kind of test fitted in here. Oh, and Will is snipping that side. I've made plenty of room down in there for it to move back because this is not seated properly yet. You can still see I can put a finger in between the body of the car and the roll bar. And we need it to be completely flush so that we can bolt it in.
See what Jackson's saying is there's a bolt here. Gotta undo that, so that way this can go, and then we have to go on the other side of this, which is in the wheel well, and put a plate, sandwich, car, boom, cage.
Yes. The reason the roll bar is such a good modification and will actually make the car faster is because of all these extra bolts we're adding. That makes the car far more rigid and makes it handle a lot more good.
Think about this. If my arms, if I'm like this, I'm floppy. You could bend me around. But if I were to be holding a big bar in between my two arms, you couldn't. My arms would be connected.
Wow.
We're connecting the arms of this car with more stuff.
That is crankshaft science for you right
And when
there.
your arms are connected, you can control them better.
Wow.
Not really, but that's just something.
Look at that.
Anyways, it also makes it way safer. And as much as me and Jackson like to joke around about being stupid, we don't want to lose our lives to a Miata.
Yes, that would be quite embarrassing. With a few more minor trims made and everything properly lined up, we can bolt in the first 2 mounting points for the cage, which use factory mounting spots. With that done, we now have to do something a bit more difficult and stressful. It's time for the scary bit where I put a hole through the Miata. Actually, like 9 holes through the Miata. So, with these types of things, like where we cut through the Aston Martin and drill holes in the car, you just gotta do it. You don't think too much about it. Thinking too much, and then you don't want to do it. Motivated by my own words of wisdom, I'm drilling into my precious Miata, which means there is truly no turning back now. Thankfully, the metal is actually surprisingly easy to drill through, and the brackets are lining up perfectly with one another. This is probably the nicest bolting cage you can get for a Miata, and I'm glad this is the one that we went with, because a good cage is genuinely so important. With all the holes drilled on both sides, bolts inserted and brackets installed, the cage is finally good to go. And now we can get started on putting everything back together, which also requires a bit of modification. So the reason Will's cutting with tin snips is because the bulkhead doesn't fit anymore, and we're trying to do things right these days. Because sometimes we take shortcuts, and we don't want to do that. And this should go back in because it's supposed to. But to do that,
this surely isn't a shortcut, right? Tin snips?
No, it's the safest method. To do this right, I want to install as much of the factory pieces that I possibly can. And to do that, I'm gonna need to do a lot of cutting. To be honest, small details have never been my strong suit. But as we keep building new cars, I want to make them better and better each time. And small details add up to be a better final product. So for once, I'm actually gonna do this right. And after a bit of tedious cutting and measuring, it's actually coming together really nicely. And just like that, everything is back together. Look at that. I did cut the carpet a little bit to make sure that it would actually sit flush, but I'm honestly pretty proud of that. That's better than I would have thought I could do. All right, now it's done. I added the 2 little side panels to cover the metal, and I'm honestly pretty proud of this. I went the extra mile to try to make it look a little better, and I think it was worth it. So now we need to move to the seats. I did discover a slight issue though. Obviously, seats, if you're buying aftermarket ones, they need aftermarket brackets to fit in the car. For some reason, seats are always the hardest thing to do. I don't know why you would think it was easy, because it's only like 4 bolts. So I thought I'd make it easier for myself and buy these universal brackets. However, I'll show you the problem. It's quite simple. The brackets, well, if they're lined up with this first hole, they don't even reach the second one, which is a major issue. And I thought for a second that we would need to wait and order new brackets, which is my least favorite thing in the world, because it means these videos come out way later than I want them to, and it always slows us down when parts are not correct or they don't show up on time. But I think I came up with a solution, because the stock seats have proper sliders that actually fit. They were the original ones, so they work. And I've modified them to fit on these universal brackets. So I think by the time we're done with this, if I've done it right, we can get aftermarket seats with OEM sliders. I feel pretty good about that. We just need to see if it actually functions. Installing the brackets on the seats is actually super easy. So with just a few bolts, we can drop the seats into the car for the first time.
Oh, no way. Sit in it, see how it feels. How is
Quite
it?
tall.
Tall?
Oh wow, very tall.
Yeah.
I'll have to lower it all the way as low as it goes.
Yeah. At least lower the back. It's not gonna go down much further though. That was kind of my biggest fear with using the stock mounts, is it was gonna be high.
It's high. It's very high, but I can lower it. I still have adjustment.
Let me pop in that lighter real quick. Let's see how bad we're talking.
Holy sh!
That is not great.
Hold on, look at this. Hold on.
Yeah, no,
That's very much your forehead.
yeah, I can see you. And I can't see anything through the windshield.
So I will lower it.
I don't know how much lower you can go.
Let me see how much lower I can get out of it.
Okay.
Immediately, I'm realizing there isn't much adjustment left in the brackets without cutting them apart. But luckily, I think I have another solution that'll be much simpler. So, we have a slight dilemma again. The seat does go in, the sliders work. I'm a genius sometimes. It's actually really cool. I'm pretty happy with that. However, it's not fully bolted in, that's why it's moving around a lot. When you have the cushions in, your head, as you saw with Will and I, your head sort of goes over the roof and over the roll bar, which is super dangerous and is not gonna be allowed on any racetrack. So, we are gonna potentially take the cushions, we've already taken one out, and we're gonna saw them in half. And then it will be less comfortable, but hopefully lower, so that when you sit down, your head is below the roof line. All right, stock cushion here. I have a blade, which I should not be trusted with. Haha. And now, we're going to modify. At all times, make sure you're cutting towards important vital body parts.
That noise bothers me tremendously.
Really?
Yeah.
This one? Not pretty, but good enough. With the seats cut out, I do sit significantly lower. However, I think we can go even lower and it would be more better. This is still like a tad high.
Yeah.
A tad high. My head is under the roll bar, but just barely. And it honestly feels like an SUV seating position for a Miata, which is cool, but not necessarily the best. So, I'm gonna take this out. I'm gonna modify the brackets a bit more if I can, and hopefully drop them one click lower, which is about another inch and a half. And hey, sometimes an inch and a half goes a long way, so. Unfortunately, that didn't do enough. So now it's time to start really modifying the brackets with a bit of brute force and ignorance. Now you may be wondering, why are you putting so much effort to change the seats in the first place? Will it actually make the car any faster? Well, it will, and for two important reasons. One is simple, they're much lighter than the factory seats. But the other reason is the more important one to me. Factory seats have horrible bolstering, meaning under hard cornering you're flying around the car, which makes it difficult to control it. These new bucket seats will hold me in place while driving and make it easier to drive faster. To make the test fitting process easier, I'm removing the steering wheel. And now it's just a back and forth of trying new ways to adjust the seat to be safer and more comfortable, and then fitting and testing them again. Finally though, after what has felt like an eternity, I think I have it dialed in. Okay, so we've done some modification. Not only have we modified the brackets, we've modified the seat cushions, and now we've also angled the front up, which has allowed the sliders to go forward.
Sit in it. I bet it's gonna feel 10 times lower with just the front up.
Oh yeah, that's so much better. Problem solved. I told you interiors are rough, man. It's always the interior that gets you.
It might not seem like it on video, but he's been working on this for like 5 hours.
Yeah. After a ton of trial and error, the first seat is actually in. And it looks pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that. But of course now, we need to get the second seat in, and we know how troubling this process is, or how difficult this process actually is. So, we gotta get started by taking the old sliders off the OEM seat. Let's do that. Thankfully, I can save a lot of time on the passenger side by following the same steps as the driver's side. But there's still a lot of customization and modification to do. With the sliders removed from the old seats, brackets modified and installed, cushions cut, and seat bolted down, we can finally move on to the next modification, which I'm pretty excited about. We're back on the steering wheel. We had to order a new part because we were missing something, but now ready to go. However, we have a slight issue because this is the part that needs to go on, and all this wire and the thing that's built for the horn and the airbag wiring, it gets in the way. So we need to remove this back here, because if I try to put this on now, for demonstration purposes, check this out, that's not gonna cut it. So we're gonna need to solve that problem. Now, this is relatively simple. It looks like there's just 2 Phillips heads down here. This is the type of stuff where you kind of just start taking any screw that you can see, any fastener that's available, you just start taking it out, because chances are it's probably what's in the way. Now you may have noticed the factory steering wheel was already removed earlier, which was just to make it easier to test fit the seats over and over again. But now we have everything to install the new one ready to go. Like most universal parts, you need an adapter to make the steering wheel fit on your specific car. With everything out of the way, the adapter slides on without any issue, and now we can bolt it to the quick release mount. With that installed, the steering wheel itself is ready to go on. And this one is super nice. It's a bit smaller than the factory wheel, which makes the steering feel sharper, and it also just looks amazing.
Dude, to be honest, without even trying, this interior is so sick now.
Yeah, it actually is really
We
cool.
didn't like coordinate any of the stuff, it just all happened.
It was all
to be
stuff
nice
we were like,
black.
we like this stuff.
Yeah.
Now, folks, that the steering wheel is in, let's just test something.
Oh, you can take it with you on adventures.
Look at these pedals. They're grimy and small. And bigger is better, I think. These pedals are pretty terrible. So we're gonna put these pedal attachments on.
Those are nice. They say Roadster on them.
They do say Roadster on them. And these just make it a whole lot better. Look at that.
Installing the pedals is super easy. I'm just gonna drill some pilot holes into the metal factory pedals and then use some self-tapping screws to fasten them down. These pedals are really high quality, and it also gives you a bit more adjustability to where the pedals can sit. For track driving, this can be crucial because it makes it easier to downshift while braking, which is very important. With each pedal properly secured, I have a couple special surprise mods to do, and I think you guys will like it. While we still have the drill out, we're gonna go and put a wing on the car.
If you like it, then you gotta put a wing on it. Wing.
This is just a little eBay classic we got going on here, and it's gonna look actually pretty good.
Nothing wrong with an eBay Classic.
No, bro, it's an eBay classic. We sort of already have the drill out, so we thought, why not? And also, if you want to beat a Ferrari, you gotta look the part. And a wing means speed, baby. Installing the wing is really easy. It's held on with some sticky tape, as well as a few self-tapping screws. All you have to do is line it up, drill it in, and it's ready to go. And I really like how it's looking. And now, it's time for the second surprise modification. Now, we've put the spoiler on, and to match it, we have this lovely front splitter. Now, the front splitter it's quite bendy in Captain Crankshaft fashion. All they did was send us self-tappers, so we know what to do. I can't in good conscience recommend that anybody just self-tap a splitter to their car, but today, that's what I'm gonna do. Will and I are lining it all up as best we can, and then just sending in some screws. It might not be the most functional or the best solution, but it does look cool. And with the splitter done, we can move on to the final modification left, which is a pretty sweet one. So when we bought this car, obviously it was missing a lot of stuff. One of those things was the door card. And it's kind of disgusting behind the old door card. There's all this plastic and goop.
That's gotta be aftermarket goop, man.
I don't know. There's this, what I imagine is this must act as some kind of layer for liquid. It's not doing a good job. The goop has worn off over the years. But what we're gonna do is cover the goop because the interior is looking actually pretty good, but the thing that's really drawing my eye away from the beautiful interior is the goop.
Tell them why we're not using factory goop covers though.
Factory goop covers, two problems. We could get the factory goop cover, but one, it's quite heavy, obviously, and two, and we might have this problem in a moment, the door sort of touches our seat. So the clearances here, on this side it actually has a little bit of room.
A little teeny bit, but you know.
The clearances are very tight. And the OEM door card is a bit wider than what we have in mind. And what we have in mind is aluminum door card.
Nice and light.
Nice and light, looks cool, looks race car. However, before we get the door cards on, we have snake that we need to take care of. A lot of weather stripping on this car has been messed with by the previous owner. Most of it we don't technically need, but this piece holds the window from rattling around. So I'm gonna carefully feed it into the gap and hope it settles where it's supposed to. With that done, I can install the door cards, which is actually really not difficult. They bolt into holes that are already drilled into the door and line up perfectly. It may seem like a boring mod, but it's gonna tie the whole interior together, especially with the little added surprise we have.
When you go on a website to order parts, and you have this car, and you see an option that says glittery purple door pulls, well, if you're like me and Jackson, you click that option and then click purchase, which is how we got these door cards, and which is why we have
glittery door pulls. Now, this was the one spot we had to go for. We had to spend a little extra dough to get these, but I think it's worthwhile. Because, if I'm not mistaken, look at this color match.
Oh man,
perfect.
You never even know that they were there, minus the
No,
glitter.
they might even blend in.
Yeah.
So now we've got like a little, you ever seen like, you know, like Singer Porsche where they match like the inside of the seat sometimes to the outside of the paint? We're practically Singer, if you've seen that.
Call this guy Madonna.
Dude, you're a riot. With our beautiful door pulls installed and some M Edition Miata kick plates to tie it all together, the interior is finally done. So let's take it outside and check it out, and then see if everything we installed was actually worth it. And after a week of hard work, here she is. Not only is the interior done, but we've got the front lip, and we've of course got the ducktail. I can't believe the car looks like this now, honestly. Based on when we bought it, it was sitting in some guy's garage. Every single panel was missing. There was no paint on the car. And now I'm impressed with us, honestly. It's really starting to look like a car. But the question is, can it beat a Ferrari? I have no idea yet, but we're gonna test that very soon. But before we test that, it does need one final thing, of course. No interior is complete without a Luft air freshener. This is our new air freshener brand. All you gotta do is take this little mount that comes with it, chuck it on your sun visor. Miata sun visors are a little odd, goes like that. And then the Luft, look at this. Wood infused with oil. This is the blended berry scent, one of my favorites. And then it just
Oh man, I can smell that from here, brother, and it smells yummy.
magnetizes up there. These help us make videos like this. So if you want an air freshener, which you should, your car probably smells stinky, you should buy a Luft. It's down in the description. These, we've worked a year on making an air freshener. We didn't like all the ones that swung around and did crazy stuff while you're driving. Yeah, and they also gave me a headache because they smelled so strongly of weird chemicals. These all smell lovely. At least I think so. You should buy one to find out for yourself. This is a $500 sports car. And this is a $5,000 turbo kit. And today, we're gonna put it on in 24 hours. The highest this timer will allow. Start the clock, and let's go. We've got 24 hours, we better start moving actually. We think we're gonna need every second we can get.
First step of all of this is to remove this front section of the old exhaust, because that all changes because turbos are part of the exhaust system.
Like Will said, before we can start to put anything new on the car, we have to take a lot of the stock parts out, starting with the exhaust. The whole front section of the exhaust, including the headers, is being replaced. And unfortunately for us, we just recently put it together using very questionable fasteners. But thankfully, they're still coming out with ease. Now we can go to the top of the engine, unbolt the headers, and very carefully pull everything out of the engine bay.
Nice.
I went fishing. I just caught me one of these. Miata headers, 1.6 liter, pretty good catch.
Not regulation length, though, you can't eat it.
No, you gotta give it back. You gotta throw it back. With the required portion of the exhaust fully removed, the next step is to take the intake off because that all is gonna be completely replaced as well. We just installed this intake the correct way, so removing it is also very straightforward. With everything removed, now we can get to the install, which certainly won't be as easy. The first step of all turbo kit installs, from my non-experience of doing a turbo kit, is that the turbo should go in first. It only makes sense. I don't know if that's actually how it's supposed to do, but the only way to put the turbo in is to install the headers, because that's where the turbo mounts to.
God, those are gorgeous, man.
Those.
Shout out ISR.
Dude, ISR knows how to make
Look
a
at their
little something.
logo on there. Welded.
Oh,
off.
that's actually sick.
That is pretty cool.
That is cool. Love when a company puts their logo on something you almost never see. That's just a show of how much they care.
Just for the flex.
That is a flex. So this will go right upside down, sorry. It is gonna be a pain to put the turbo on actually after the fact.
Nah, there's like
Those are gonna sit there. That looks so much cooler.
that does look pretty cool. Those look nice.
Those look really nice.
Equal length.
That is gonna sound probably a lot cooler than it does now.
And go
Which is cool. Come on,
that, yeah.
that's cool. All right, so now we just need to bolt it on.
bolty.
With the headers bolted down, we can start to figure out routing all the lines to the turbo.
our setup requires both coolant and oil to run the turbo. So we have to figure out where we're getting the coolant and the oil from, starting with the oil, which requires getting underneath the car.
The reason Will and I are fiddling around down here is there is an oil sensor that we need to take off, and it's buried quite deep. I'm gonna show you. We're going mobile, ladies and gentlemen. Check this out. Do you see that right there? That thing next to the oil filter? That's what we need to get off. And we're gonna do it now.
Getting the pressure sensor out is pretty straightforward. You just unplug it and twist it off, and with a bit of brute force and ignorance, it comes right out.
This is the oil pressure sensor. And this has a little high flow little thing on the end where oil comes out of. So we're gonna take the oil from here, put a little spacer here, and then oil's gonna go to the turbo and also to the oil pressure sensor. So we'll know we'll have oil pressure and the turbo will have oil. It's a win-win. And it was annoying to get out, but not that bad actually. I thought it was gonna be worse. So now I'm gonna figure out how to put the T thing on and then put it back in.
Like Will said, we're taking oil from the oil pressure sensor's hole in the engine block and routing it to the turbo. To do this, we're basically just inserting a spacer in between the sensor and the engine that has two outputs. One for the sensor and one for the line that goes to the turbo. It is a bit tricky to install because it's kind of a tight fit. But after a bit of experimentation, Will has the sensor and spacer installed. And now we can figure out how we're routing the line to the turbo itself. Installing the line to the sensor though is kind of tricky because there's just no room, and it has to be pointed in a certain direction. But thankfully, I'm finally getting it to tighten on properly, and now we can test to see if everything we did worked, which is always a little bit scary.
In order to test if we've done a good job getting this oil line on, Will is gonna fire the motor up, and if oil comes out of here, we did a good job, but it's a little scary. I'm just gonna get a bucket. All right, give it a shot. It's gonna be loud.
Now we're not totally sure if this will be faster than a Ferrari. We'll have to wait and see. But something we can do to make it almost as nice as a Ferrari is a LuftSense air freshener, baby. We've been working a year on these. They are super nice. They honestly are nice enough to belong in a Ferrari, but we're gonna put ours in a Miata.
We don't have a Ferrari.
Because we don't have a Ferrari. We were sick of all the annoying air fresheners that swing from your rearview mirror and give you a headache. Luckily, the LuftSense ones don't do that. We have literally made them the perfect amount of scent. In my opinion, I'm pretty biased because they're our product. You just take it out of here. Look at that lovely wooden block soaked in essential oils.
That smells so good,
Oh my
Jackson.
God, that smells so
Wow,
good.
that smells good.
Oh man, that's the best smelling thing I've ever smelled.
This is English pear, which is divine.
Oh, I can smell it from here.
It smells so good. Then you get your lovely Luft mount. Throw it on there. Look at that. Look at it. It's cut perfectly. Tuck it on there. Look at that.
Doesn't that just look incredible, Jackson?
It looks incredible and it smells incredible. You don't have to, but you can get a monthly subscription, which means you get a new one every single month right when it's about to run out. And if you get the monthly subscription, it's cheaper than just buying a one-off purchase. Girls, by the way, love these things.
Fact of life.
Will's
if your
had-
car smells good, all the girls like it. I take
Yeah.
all the girls in my car and they say, mm-mm-mm.
They do. They say that every time. LuftSense.com. Go take a look at them. Every single purchase helps us make more stuff, and that's what we want to do. Literally reinvesting all the money from these back into the videos, and you get a lovely air freshener for your trouble.
Yeah, you're good. Oil. That's some oil coming out of there, that's for sure. All right, I was really excited. I thought we did a thing, and then just to check, I reached my hand down here, felt the fitting. And when I came back, dun dun dun!
That's
oil!
So that's not tight.
Where we don't want it to be. Now, here's the thing. I think it's just not tightened enough on the AN fitting.
You think just the line?
I think it's just the line, so I'm just gonna give it some more, you know, juice.
Hopefully I'm right, and tightening everything down a bit more solves our problem. Because if not, that means we definitely broke something, which would set us back massively. Thankfully, after a second test run, no more oil appears to be leaking out. So now we can move on to the next step, and one of the coolest parts of the job, installing the turbo. The turbo is held on by just 4 bolts, but immediately as we're starting to try to tighten everything down, we're realizing we made a mistake.
We have a slight dilemma, and the dilemma is we should have put the turbo on the headers first. And now we need to take the headers off because you cannot get a wrench anywhere near the bolts that we need to get them on. And if it's off the car, we probably can. Or we definitely can, I hope. So we're gonna have to take the headers back off again. First mistake of, I'm sure, many that we're gonna make, and it's definitely gonna eat into our time. We're sitting at right now, if I go to our timer, 20 hours and 49 minutes.
Yeah.
So we still have time, but let's get this done.
Every time you take the headers on and off the car, you risk snapping one of the studs for the head, which is a huge pain to fix. Thankfully, ours seem to be pretty solid, and with the headers off, installing the turbo should be a lot easier.
Now, with the headers finally off, we can just barely access these bolts. Oh my god.
Not too bad.
Yeah, it's a lot of turns I get out of that.
Double up, then through.
Okay, so that,
Loop-de-loop and pull.
and then that,
Then flip it.
and then flip it, and then you get that little extra out of it, and then flip it, and then that, and then back, and that, and then flip it, and then that, and then
Hey.
come back.
I'm gonna let him do this. This is boring as.
With the turbo fully bolted down to the manifold, I'm also going to try mounting the coolant lines and the oil return line to the turbo with it out of the car, because as we learned, it's much easier to access it that way. With all the lines securely attached, we can put the turbo and headers into the engine bay, hopefully for the last time, and start to connect all of the lines to the coolant and oil systems. The first line I'm connecting is the oil feed line that we attached to the engine earlier. With that attached, we can now run the coolant feed and return lines from the turbo. These attach to the pre-existing metal coolant lines coming off the engine and loop the turbo into the factory coolant system. The only line we can attach right now is the turbo oil return line. This will eventually go directly into the oil pan of the engine, but this requires drilling and tapping, which we don't have the parts for just yet. So for now, we're just gonna have to move forward with the install. But before we do anything else, I have an idea.
You might be wondering, why is Will leaning over the car like this? And that's because he's holding a line that's not connected to something, because we're about to do something dumb. And that is start the car to just see if the turbo spins, because we're honestly probably stupid. Obviously it's probably gonna spin, we probably did it right, but it's cool to test and we wanna see what happens. So, it's obviously not gonna spool, but
Go for it, baby girl.
this is a horrible idea.
It's fun.
Yeah, it's fun. It just doesn't know how to run yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably crankcase.
It could be cranking pressure. It could be the fact that the intake is.
It has no idea what's going on, which is why, follow me over here, camera. We have this, a Mega Squirt, which sounds like something different, but it's actually a computer for the car, which is gonna tell it that it has a turbo on it and tell it how to run. Right now it doesn't have that, and there's a lot of stuff disconnected. So we first need to connect everything, which makes a whole lot of sense. We just wanted to make sure the exhaust gases were actually spinning the turbo. And now we should do the part that we should have done in the first place before we started it, which was actually get everything else connected. But we're getting there, slowly, and we still have 19 hours. So we're doing good.
Now that we know everything is at least vaguely working, we have to start routing all of the necessary piping for the turbo kit. This piping is what takes the pressurized air from the turbo, cools it off, and then feeds it into the engine. One really important component to this system is the intercooler. So first, we're going to mount that to the front of the car, which requires removing the bumper. After a bit of experimentation, we believe we have the intercooler properly mounted, and now we can start to run the piping to the intercooler. The side that feeds cooled air into the engine is actually very simple, but unfortunately the other side is not so self-explanatory. This turbo kit is basically brand new, so unfortunately there are no full instructions yet, which means it's up to us to figure out how to route everything, which is going exactly how you'd expect.
For the past, I would say, we were last spoke at about when we had 19 hours left, and now we have 17 and a half hours left. So for the past hour and a half, all we've been doing is trying to figure out where all the charge piping goes. The charge piping is what brings the air from the turbo to the intake, the compressed air, and then makes your car faster. But the problem is, we need to run all of the piping to the beautiful intercooler that we set up, which is what cools the air down. Now, the thing is, one side was pretty self-explanatory. We figured that out. This side we've been looking at for literally an hour. And what we've come to the conclusion of is that we need to drill through here, so scary, and then run the pipe down and over, and that's how it's supposed to go. Because every other orientation doesn't seem to work. So now we have to drill right into the car, which is so lovely and totally cool. So, yeah, let's do that, I guess. Ah! Oh, God, that is horrifying. Gosh, that was effective, huh?
Nice.
Wow!
So
Dude,
glad we
honestly,
Had the right size hole saw somehow.
that's insane.
This has been the right size hole saw for everything ever.
Everything's that
2
one
1/4
size.
inches.
It's a nice hole, dude.
That was really well done. Look at how good this hole is, dude. Some nice hole. That feels essentially less right.
Yeah.
Should work. It's gonna be very, very close. We need to make another hole here so that this can kind of sit a little more flush. Wait, let me just double check that.
That's right, good. I meant you there.
With a hole in the frame cut, we can finally get all of the pipes properly installed, which means we are one step closer to having a running car. All of the metal pipes are held together with rubber hoses and hose clamps. This allows a bit of adjustment so we can make sure everything is lined up properly and there aren't any major leaks. After a bit of trial and error, all of the charge piping is connected and we're one step closer to a turbo Miata, which is super exciting and hopefully a step closer to beating a Ferrari.
Now we have everything allegedly routed, almost, except for that one oil thing, which we will take care of once the adapter we ordered gets here. We're lifting the car up here now so we can complete the exhaust.
That's an important part of the turbo setup.
Yeah. But look at this. There's things in there for sure.
There's lots of stuff.
Thank you, ISR Performance. This is very nice. It's a little bit confusing for us because we're slow, but if you've watched this video or are a competent mechanic, I'm sure you could figure it out much faster than us.
Everything goes together actually really well.
I know, it's like all
We
perfect.
just didn't know how to do it.
After quickly realizing we don't know what we're doing, we realized putting the downpipe in is easier with the car lowered. The downpipe is held in with just a few bolts. And with that attached, I can put the car in the air and install the rest of the exhaust. If you've worked on cars before, you might know that the O2 sensor goes into the downpipe, and might have noticed we didn't reinstall it. But that was on purpose, which I will now explain.
Now that the exhaust is all set up, we're kind of just waiting on Will. And the reason we're waiting on Will is because Will needs to wire in an air fuel gauge. Without the air fuel gauge, we can't tune the car because the computer itself will have no idea how much air and fuel is actually needed to go into the engine to make it run properly. So right now, if we try to start the car like we have, it doesn't really run super well. And that's because it has no idea what's happening. And the air fuel gauge will help that computer understand what's going on inside the car and then hopefully allow it to actually run and have the whole turbo kit work. So what Will's doing right now is wiring, which is terrifying because neither Will nor I know how to wire anything.
I'm gonna make it work, man.
But Will's gonna make it work and I love his confidence. So let's see what happens. I'm gonna give him some time here. We have, you know, still quite a bit of time, like
Honestly,
13 hours, so.
The problem isn't the comprehension of it. It's like I understand what's supposed to happen. I just don't know how to make this work. All right, so this is the current setup. I have this, which is the new wideband O2 sensor that goes into the exhaust. That goes into this, which is lambda to cam, which has the output we need. That goes there. This is the little thing I made. I only have one color wire, so they're all the same, which shouldn't be confusing at all. Professional stuff. And I'm gonna get this to come through there, go out to the O2 sensor port, which is in the exhaust on the other side. That would be this. So that's that, comes through here. Through this little hole that I'm definitely gonna have to widen now looking at it. Do I know what I'm doing? Not at all. But I'm gonna work it out, magic style.
Basically, what Will is doing is installing a much smarter O2 sensor than the car came with from the factory. There are two main types of O2 sensors, narrow and wideband. This car came with a narrow band, but we want a wideband because it gives the ECU even more data to see what's going on in the engine, and that allows us to make the car run better and make more power. With the sensor fed through the firewall, plugged into the ECU and powered, as well as the ECU properly installed itself, we can finally start the process, which I'm sure you are all very excited to see us try tuning the car. By the way, we've never tuned a car in our entire lives before.
Anything from that?
I mean, it turned on.
Rev it. I'll try it again. Ready?
Try again.
According to everybody online, the company that makes the ECU and the turbo kit, if we installed everything correctly, the car should just fire up and at least idle with the base map that comes pre-installed on the ECU. Clearly though, that's not the case. And right now, unfortunately, no matter what Will does, who we ask for help, or what videos he finds online, we just can't get the car running. After starting the car over and over again though, we ran into a much bigger problem that actually might make this entire project impossible.
Yeah, so there's a bit of a problem. While we were tuning the car, this happened. That is gonna delay us. We're calling a locksmith right now to see if somebody can come help us because this has to get done. We are still on the clock, and we can't tune the car if we can't start the car. Yeah, so now we're just making calls to locksmiths. So this is not exactly how I was hoping this would go. But yeah, now we have an unusable Miata with a half-installed turbo kit. Wish us luck.
I went to a locksmith, and there was a slight issue. The locksmith told me he couldn't do anything to fix the key. Mazda can't help me fix the key, but the locksmith did say that if I bring him the door cylinder, I can show you, this piece, there's a code on it, and then he'll be able to figure out how to make a key for it. I don't know what's going on, but what I do know is we're wasting a whole lot of time trying to fix this key. So I'm gonna try to get this disassembled, and I have to take this door card off that I just put on, and hopefully then I can get to the thing I'm looking for. We came with just one broken key, and we leave with 2 brand new keys, but we have to still see if they turn the actual ignition of the car. So we're gonna go find that out now. Okay, well, we can't really start the car right now, but what we can do is I can very awesomely close the trunk, which we won't be able to unlock unless, unless, that can't be good.
God damn it, man. Dude, this key looks nothing like the key that was in the car.
Dude, that's what came up when he did the code, though, from the door.
Dog, this is not. This is a completely different.
One week later.
All right, so today I have a mustache because it's Movember and I'm learning how to tune. It's not going great, but I found out you need one of these, which, although it looks slightly weapony, is a timing light. And you point it at something down here, and it tells you the mechanical timing of your engine versus top dead center. And what that means is basically all cars are unique. So even though I have a base map on the ECU for the Miata, the electronic timing and the mechanical timing might not be synced, so the engine's sending fuel and spark at the wrong time, is basically what that means. So what I do, I point this at the actual crank spinny thing down there. It flashes a light and tells me how many degrees off it is from what the ECU thinks it is, and then I can program it into the ECU, and then the car will know exactly what's going on. Seems complicated, but it's actually not too bad. It's just one of those things that I didn't know about until now. But now I have the right tool. I had to go buy this from Harbor Freight, and now I can point it at the thing and figure it out. So I'm gonna figure out how this works, because I still don't know how that works. But we're getting there. I have everything connected now. This points here at the little crank down there. And it should start flashing when Jackson starts cranking it. It's not flashing right now. I'm not exactly sure why. Might have to troubleshoot that. It might just be because the car's not cranking. But I also unplugged the... Whoa! Jackson kicked something. I also unplugged the fuel pump so we can just keep cranking it. Because that's what you're supposed to do.
Ready?
Yep. Just keep cranking. Okay, I don't know. I don't see a timing mark on our... Try again. It's not doing anything now. All right, so new issue is our harmonic balancer doesn't have a top dead center mark on it, so what we're gonna do is make one. To do that, I pulled out this tube that goes to the spark. Wow, it's very oily. I pulled out the spark plug tube, and then we're gonna take the spark plug out and basically put a big stick in there, and that stick goes to the top of cylinder 1, and we basically wait until the cylinder's all the way up at the top of it, and that means the engine is at top dead center because it's cylinder 1, top of the stroke. Do I really know what it means? No, but I've been told that's what we should do to find top dead center, and then that allegedly will allow me to figure out timing. You might need like a... There we go. All right, keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Oh, down. Yeah, okay. Go back. That's top dead center.
center.
That was easy.
Yes.
Go. All right, it is working. I just needed to idle.
It turns out those were going to be Will's famous last words. The car will absolutely not idle, no matter what we do. We've changed just about every setting in the tune. Changed out the spark plugs, called literally everybody we know that would have any idea of how to fix it, yet still nothing.
Try again.
After multiple days of experimentation, failure, and frustration, it's starting to seem like we might not be able to make the car run on our own. But then, something absolutely incredible happened.
It was just a stupid fuse. I don't know. The guy in the guy at the place gave me. He said, "Hey, did you check step 1, which is remove this fuse?" And I was like, "I think that fuse is still there." I have no
Step 1.
Apparently, it wasn't in the install guide that I was reading.
All right. Just for reference, Will has been trying to tune this. We've fallen so far behind schedule here. We were supposed to race the Ferrari. We had the Ferrari lined up, as you know, and then it all went as it usually goes. So, Will's been working on tuning this thing and just getting it to idle 4 days. I think it's been 3 days of Will trying to get it to idle, and now, finally...
Bruh, turn her on. Fire her up, buddy.
Like nothing. That was great.
You know what that noise is? It runs!
It runs somehow.
Yes! I knew that fuse the whole time. I was just playing it up for the video. Right, guys?
Right.
Just play it up for the video. Step 1 of the install guide.
the guy on the phone who just said, "Did you look at the
Yeah, he was like, "Dude, check this fuse, man."
Why does that stop it from...
If I know, man. Apparently you could blow up the ECU from doing it that way, though. And they're like, "We beefed up the new one, so it should be fine if you've been trying that." So I didn't break it.
So we almost blew up the
Yeah, apparently.
Why does it
Why does it have a fuse that kills the ECU?
Why is there a blowy uppy fuse that's
I just want to
pre-installed? Now that the car is running, we can finally start to finish all of the smaller jobs we've left, starting with tapping into the oil pan. Like we said earlier, we are already feeding oil into the turbo, so this line goes straight into the engine of the car and puts the oil from the turbo back into the system. To make it work, I'm drilling a hole into the oil pan, using a tap to thread the hole, which is difficult and stressful, and then admittedly, after a few tries, threading a fitting into it that I can then connect the line from the turbo to. And with that all done, we can move on to one of the last, but most crucial steps of this job, the fuel system. We're starting off by upgrading the injectors, which should be a fairly simple process. In a Miata, the injectors are really accessible, like everything on this car. So all we have to do is take the old ones out and replace them with these shiny new ones. Upgraded fuel injectors are key if you're adding boost to a car. These injectors allow for more fuel to flow into each cylinder, which combined with the added air from the turbo allows us to make more power. More air, more fuel, more power. Simple as that. With the old injectors removed and the new ones lined up, I can now tighten everything down and it should be good to go. But that doesn't seem like the case for some reason.
I've done something very dumb and stupid. I missed a spacer, and because of that, I destroyed the very expensive injectors. So now, having already been behind, I had to overnight new expensive injectors and pay about $1,000 now in injectors to try to get this resolved. You know, sometimes you make stupid mistakes, and this was definitely one of them. But ain't nothing but we can do but nothing that we can really do about it besides just forge ahead. Now, I'm not really sure exactly how broken these truly are. You can kind of see, I hope, that it's sort of curled, the metal is broken there. I don't know exactly if it's usable or not. I assume it's not.
While we wait for the new injectors to come, we can upgrade the other part of the fuel system, and that is the fuel pump. You see, these new injectors would be completely useless if the pump wasn't upgraded. Without it upgraded, the original pump could never feed them enough fuel. Upgrading the fuel pump is pretty simple in this case. You just remove the whole assembly from the fuel tank behind the driver's seat, take the old pump out, and then, with a bit of persuasion, fit the new upgraded pump and reinstall the whole assembly. Now that the pump is done, we can install the new injectors, which are finally here. And with those installed properly this time, we can fire the car up and see if it'll run. And if it does, then we can actually drive it and tune it on the street.
It's running good. We're finally in the Miata, which means only one thing. It's time to make it fast via this laptop.
Which is terrifying because the one holding this laptop is me. And that's never good.
So how this works is as I drive, Will is gonna be in the tuning software, and then that will hopefully mean that Will can adjust things via the laptop, like fuel, timing, all that stuff, to make sure this thing is running good. The only problem we might have is that the clutch could slip. We have a new clutch if we need to put it in, but we're hoping that this clutch can handle the current levels of power that this is gonna make. It should be at least double as fast as it was before, if not a dash more.
Which is kind of crazy.
Yeah, just for all that was easy. Well, not that easy.
We failed the 24-hour thing if you couldn't tell.
We did, but now I think it should hopefully be faster than a Ferrari, but the only way we can actually make it faster is by tuning it properly, and we're a bunch of idiots who don't know how to do that. We're just getting the car warm, but listen to this. Oh, that sounds fast. Oh, that sounds awesome. I can't wait to like fully get on it.
It does sound good. That wasn't the tune.
That was just a mischief.
Oh my god, we have a turbo Miata!
Check this out, ladies and gents.
Oh my god, it's so cool.
Oh my god, feels fast.
Oh man.
I don't know how much boost we're making, but
We're definitely leaking some boost, but we can fix that.
that's crazy.
Oh man. Right now what I'm doing is I'm letting it auto-tune. Oh god. This ECU has an auto-tune feature in this tuning software, and it basically just reads all the information and does it for you. Apparently it's not a perfect tune ever, but to get it running and get it driving to where we can bring it to someone to dyno tune, it'll give us a nice base, so we can at least use it. Now before we race a Ferrari, we're gonna definitely wanna get a professional tune, but at least for now, we know we have a much quicker and much more turbocharged Miata, which is the coolest thing ever.
All right, guys, is it faster than a Ferrari? Well, there's only one way to find out, and that means next Miata episode. Our little Miata, our little $500 rocket is gonna go head to head. And I'm hoping that this is enough. We might need to do some tweaking. Something really bad happened. 6 months ago, I bought this Mazda Miata for just $500. And as you can see, it needed a ton of work. It had no paint, was missing body panels, and hadn't driven in years. But despite that, and having no restoration experience, I decided I could fix it. I pulled out all the dents, sanded the entire car, and got it painted. I even updated the entire suspension, interior, and threw on a full turbo kit to make it way faster. But then, the bad part. While at a stoplight on one of its first real drives, a truck decided to just slam into it. And since it's a tiny car, it got crushed and ruined the entire frame. Luckily, everyone was okay, but all that hard work was gone in a split second. Insurance totaled it immediately and gave me an astronomical buyback price that just made it impossible to get it back and fix it. If you're a car enthusiast, you may know the pain of having lost something that you put so much work into. It sucks, but I'm taking all the money that insurance gave me and funneling it into my craziest project yet, the world's first Rally Mark V Supra. You're gonna want to see it, so follow me.